You are now in the realm of enlightenment and transformation.
Welcome to Chief Speaks.
All music performed and produced by Yuya.
Enlightenment and transformation. Enlightenment comes from allowing yourself to journey through the dark shadows of death, the primordial abyss of wisdom's waters. For it is the treasures and mysteries that lie wait in the dark that transform us and propel us to a new enlightened state. One should neither aspire to live in the light nor the dark, but should journey between the two in order to evolve the overall reality into a self-actualized creation. Knowledge is your light as wisdom is your darkness. The bold interplay of the two in your life leads you to an enlightened understanding of yourself and the universe you've created. Male is your enlightenment. Female is your transformation. Child is your evolution. Woman, accept the light into your darkness so it may enlighten you. Man, bring your light boldly into the darkness so that it may transform you. Enlightenment and transformation.
I love you so much because you just don't know what you've just done for me. Thank you so much.
Wow. Okay. This is like the best call I've had in ages on BTR.
So this show was meant for me to be able to hear today, and I'm so thankful.
That's his home.
Therefore, now a new pathway has now been cut in order to get to the Almighty, where there may not have been one. So the communication with them, if they have enough power and strength to talk to us, the communication will be very clear.
That's one of the reasons I don't get into the current events thing too much, because it starts to become a perpetual alarm clock that we just keep hitting snooze on. I speak to the ascended masters, quote unquote. I talk about spiritual stuff, but I also speak about some very practical, we can do today things.
Be as natural as you can be with your spiritual self. You can't always go by your feelings, because your feelings are corrupted. Your feelings are just as corrupted as everything else, your chakras and everything else. You got to know what's beyond you, and that's why we have elders. We can't do everything. You can't get everything out of books or weekend certification. You can have the most powerful, ancient, oldest, most, as far as you know, truthful tradition in your hands. And if you still have a dirty spirit, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're not going to learn anything. You're not actually going to grow. I try to teach in a way where I make myself obsolete. That's always been my goal, to make myself obsolete.
I really wanted to, kind of big you up. I think you're awesome.
There's a lot of elders out here right now that want to know what's going on. They're not getting on Twitter and stuff like that, but they want to be up on the new stuff. Sit down and have some conversations with them. It's not always about hearing their story. It's also about being news reporters for them and letting them know, like, yeah, this is what's happening right now. They may tell you something about what happened in Charleston that you couldn't even. Your spirituality has to create sane spiritual family. Okay, and that family exists first inside of you. You have to express the different expressions of that rainbow coalition of spirits inside of you first. Okay, don't let communities hijack that rainbow. The problem is when we come into the conscious community, the dudes are doing the same thing that the women are doing.
I just want to say that I really enjoy your show every Sunday, and my friend and I call it going to church. When we call in, we'll be like, you going to church? And I'm like, where have y'all been at?
God cannot go against its own truth. So anytime you have an inkling that God is going against its own truth, then God is no longer behaving as God, so therefore the spiritual community doesn't recognize God. You dig where I'm coming from? Or can we have a new thought? Can we step outside of the books for a second and have a new conversation about hair weaves and wigs? Can we have a new conversation about homosexuality? Can we have a new conversation about vegan eating? What are we doing? It's a good day for an exorcism. Good day for an
Peace. Greetings and welcome everyone to Chief Speaks. Of course, you are listening to Chief Yuya
This is Enlightenment and Transformation, and it's all a product of our new nation. I see some of our folks have already made their way into the chat room. So peace to you, those of you in the chat, and of course those of you who are listening, via YouTube, and of course who will be tuning in later via YouTube or wherever, however you're gonna decide to come in. But I just wanted to give you a quick movement into what today's segment is and what we'll be dealing with this month. Of course, many of you know we have monthly themes that we pretty much adhere to, or at least try to adhere to the best of our abilities. And these themes represent our insights. And last month, being the month of July 2017, we dealt with the insight of the undeveloped person. And of course, that ended and exited with the students forum. All right. And this month we're dealing with mating, mating, mating. All right. So I'm sure for many of you, it will be very interesting. For some of you, it will be very offensive. For others, it will be very enlightening. For some others, it will be very confirming. And I'm sure, and for the rest of you, it may just be background noise. All right, so we're going to get right into it. All right, sometimes and often I like to begin with a sonic libation. So that's what I'm going to do. And then we're going to get into the teaching, all right, on the science of mating, So make sure, like I always tell you, you have those pens and pencils ready, or whatever it is that you use to kind of get yourself right. But make sure that you're taking notes and whatnot, so that way you don't have to retrace steps that you may not need to retrace because something may have already been taught to you. All right, I'll be right back.
All eyes is true Rasta, vintage of rain shower, Makalito Adawa, love you one another, love you one another, love you one another. Take his water enemy, give his giving freely, love you one another. Love me one another, love me one another, love me one another. Cycle of ancestral, Abuna and Ababa, bad boy and soldier. What about a fight for? Love me one another, love me one another. Could be the latest of the night and in the earliest of the morning time. Hey, might be there for your needs. Treat them right all the time. Hey, one another, love you one another, love you one another. Water pipe run a chalawa, send up a vibes throughout the structure. Simple help one each other. Pentagram, my vinegar. Water power rover. Devotion of fire. Tell us I told ya. Tell us I told ya. Love you one another. Millions of fathom, leagues of water. From below come the artist lava. Busting out of worlds to conquer. Love you one another. 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 In the latest of the night and in the earliest of morning time. Might be there for your needs. Treat them right all the time.
All right, and here we are. Okay, so like I said before, we offered up that not verbal, but sonic libation. We'd be dealing with the topic of mating for this month. And before I get into that, I just want to share one other thing, and that's today is Men's Call. All right, so as you've probably been able to decipher, brothers, that it is every 2 weeks, every two strongs, right? So excuse me for that that profanity just now, but every two strongs, we're doing the men's call. So of course it will be today at 1 p.m. If I'm not mistaken, I think Brother Charles will be facilitating that particular call. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there now to let the brothers know. And if I remember, I'll say it again before we go off the air. All right, that we have a men's call today. But yeah, so anyway, going back to I'm sorry, I didn't mean to giggle, but I just glanced at the chat room real quick and I saw that Anwar speaking to his lady love says, "Yeah, Nancy, isn't this a topic to match our conversation last night?" So when he said that, I just got a flood of jokes in my head real quick, but I'm gonna try to be mature this month, as a chief should be, right? They don't know what they did when they made me a chief. You sure it was me? You sure you weren't aiming for somebody else? Because I got a lot of jokes still left in me. I'm not as somber as most chiefs. But anyway, I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave the happy couple alone. I ain't gonna crack no jokes. But so yeah, so we're speaking about mating, and for those of you who have been following for some time, and you're probably very much aware that I do speak about mating often, and some of the real basic and base issues that sometimes we experience as people because we've not been taught the science of mating, and or some of us who have been taught it, we've chosen to ignore the information because sometimes having to go into that space of being someone's mate or spouse or just mating, because mating and having a mate doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be that you're married per se, or even in a committed relationship, but sometimes it brings out some of the aspects of us that we're holding on to very tightly, and it requires us to let them go. In any mating situation, whether it be a sexual mating or spiritual mating, there's a moment where you have to you're no longer allowed to be what you are. You release what you are, in the moment, and you give up your identity, you give up your ego. So for some, this is a very uncomfortable experience. They just don't want it. They'd rather just practice celibacy or what. I just know I don't want that. So that's why I said, in many senses, this will be a very, I think for some, I know for some, in fact, it will be a very uncomfortable topic because of what it calls for, what it requires and what it asks for. Okay, I'm seeing all these congratulations in the chat room. What happened? What happened? I missed something here. I saw about 5 congratulations in a row, but I'm out of the loop, man. Let me in. I'm out of the loop. What happened? So, yeah, so getting on to the topic, and maybe somebody will put me up, or maybe I'm not allowed. Maybe I ain't down with the cool kids, so they won't let me know. But, yeah, so mating, again, it can be very difficult because of what it requires of us in terms of our releasing and in terms of us accepting a part of ourselves that we've been separated from, when we're conjoining as male and female. And, I'm even speaking about when you take the male side of a extension cord and plug it into the female socket in the wall. Any form of mating in that sense is rejoining things that were meant to go together, just like your cell phone charger was, meant to go into the wall. And in the moment that it goes into the wall, it's no longer a cell phone charger. It loses that identity in a sense. It becomes something else. So Real basic, easy examples, of course, but that's difficult. Now, I'm going to answer one question. I wasn't going to answer it, but I'm going to answer it before we get started, because sometimes, I like to mix it up a little bit. So instead of waiting to the end to answer this question, I'm going to answer it now. But Brother Haru Wajet says, Chief, I know this is not the topic of this show. Hey, and greetings to you too, brother. But he says, Chief, I know this is not the topic of the show. However, if you would explain to me the difference, parentheses, if there is, parentheses, between Olofin, Olofi/Olofin, Olorun, and Obatala. You should have been able to deduce that answer from the shows I've already taught on those energies. All right? I'm going to answer it, but yeah, I shouldn't really have to answer this one. You should already know because I've broken them all down. So I'm going to give it to you real simple. Olofin is the resurrection of the law. Olorun is the energy of transcendence. And Obatala is the energy of omnipresence. All right. Now let's get on with the segment. Yeah, and that's it. So no addendum questions on that one. Yeah, I wanted to go a little deeper. That's all you need. And like I said, oh, you're pregnant. That's what it is. Oh, Nicole Mass is pregnant. That's why everybody's saying congratulations. Okay, I got you. She got a bun in the oven. Somebody done gave her the big belly. All right. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, let's see what you got in you, sister. let's see what you could do. All right. That's cool. But yeah. So where were we at? Oh, and you have a family too. So that's the other part. Let me add that in because I give them preferential. So she's doing it inside of an environment that is correct. Because a lot of times I never really congratulate unwed mothers, man. And I know a lot of you probably just got turned off just now. But like a good brother of mine, and she's really like my little sister. His little sister got pregnant. Church people. And everybody's congratulating her, and she's taking all these pictures pregnant. And I asked her, I said, well, what's the pictures of you and the father? And on top of that, then I said, I thought you wasn't supposed to be fornicating. And of course, everybody, oh man, why you got to bring that up every time with you? Yeah, that's me. Y'all know me now. Y'all know my personality. Yeah, I'm gonna ask the questions that no one else is gonna ask. I said, this isn't anything to congratulate you about. You already got 2 children out of wedlock. Now you got a third by another dude, some invisible guy again. So yeah, Nicole's thing is a little bit more special. We'll give you a little more rhythm on that. And I'm sure the listenership is going to go down from what I just said, because somebody's going to say something like, man, a chief a baby's a blessing no matter how it comes. No, it's not. You stop accepting the unacceptable. Sometimes it's not a blessing, man. Sometimes you just cursed yourself. You just put a hex on yourself by doing something stupid. So yeah, more kudos to her for doing it within a proper environment. And for those of you who didn't, it's not, you don't have to dwell on it, but that there is a smarter way to do things sometimes, man. Sometimes we have to be able to be honest about our ignorance in terms of mating, our ignorance in terms of building and selecting those who are going to be a part of our family. Sometimes we just don't know, and we just do things, based on feeling and emotion, and it does cause problems. It causes problems for us. It causes problems for the new life we're bringing in. It causes problems for our whole community, So it's not always the most comfortable information to hear, but again, like I said, somebody has to say, because you got enough of these fake speakers out here pandering to the nonsense, like the single mothership. Yeah, sister, you over there struggling. Sometimes she's struggling because she chased away all of her help. Sometimes she's struggling because she made a stupid decision because she wanted to be rebellious. And sometimes we're afraid to acknowledge when someone's a victim of their own choices. It just doesn't pop up like that. So, hey, man, take it or leave it. I'm sure 85% of you are going to leave that one. But for the ones that are left, you know what to do with the information. Apply it and do better and move forward. But anyway, so like I said, we're talking about mating, and I guess we already started talking about mating because Nicole and her man done messed around and got frisky recently, enjoying this good summer weather. So they're ushering in the subject. You know, I see they really enjoyed that summer solstice. But yeah. Anyway, so I'm playing. Let me stop playing with them. But yeah. So mating, right? One of the reasons why I bring it up so often and why it becomes so important and we ignore it sadly because the science of mating, for many of us who have not been initiated maybe in any mystery schools or have not been a part of any occult orders, a lot of times the science of mating is not really brought to us beyond the birds and the bees talk, or the joys of sex book, but in a real simple sense, mating itself is a religion. Period. It's a religion. Okay, so there have been times when some of the older segments, which I guess I have to realize too, a lot of you probably have not heard. That's a part of sometimes as you've been doing something for a while, and it's still pretty present in your own psyche. You forget that for some, if you bring up something you talked about maybe 5 years ago, that's a long time ago for them, especially considering their age. I know I have a lot of listeners who are like in their late teens. So if I say, I did a show on this 4 years ago, they were, still trying to figure out how to wash themselves properly, So if you listen to a lot of the earlier segments, when people used to kind of not just call in, but write a lot of emails and asking me what my religion was, because the earlier segments were filled with a lot of Orisha information, which for some was a bit shocking because it was information and a perspective and an angle that they had not heard prior. Not to say that I was the first to know any of this stuff, but just they had not heard it, So there was a lot of questions surrounding, well, are you Yoruba? Are you dealing with the Kemetic systems? Kabbalah, what the heck is going on here? And I think I said in one segment, I said I don't have a religion, but if I were to have any religion, it would be my relationships, like my family. My family is my religion. So I'm going to explain that in terms of the science of mating. Real simple. Mating's religion. Religion, of course, I've already did a segment on that some time ago and gave you the idea of religare. Religare meaning to bind back, to bring back, or to read again, like you're reading almost like when you reread again, you're essentially getting the knowledge of something again, which is very similar. If you look into biblical mythology, you have like Adam and Eve, and where you hear certain stories where it says, and Adam knew Eve and they begot. So you start to understand that the concept of knowing is connected with mating. Knowing is mating, right? Because it's knowing or mating is like rereading, almost like looking at someone again and figuring out what you were supposed to be in the beginning. So religare, or religion, meaning to reread or to bind back. It's like it's like skimming a book. You're living your life alone or with yourself, and then when you have an opportunity to mate in a healthy and divine way through divine order, you reread yourself in the book of life. You find out, no, this is what I really am. So there's been so many times, especially in just different circles, where I've spoken about the importance of us interacting and relating and engaging with each other, and you've heard me say things like, or maybe you haven't. Like I said, sometimes my live lectures and workshops and seminars that I do that many of you are not privy to, it kind of blends into the show. So forgive me if I am speaking on something that I've never even said online. Sometimes they just blur into each other. But I've often said over the years that, as a melanoid man or as a melanoid woman, you don't really know yourself fully and truly until you have the spiritual reflection of yourself, presented in your mateship. That's melanoid, Caucasoid, It's anyone. Not to say there's only two people on the planet, but you have to have your mating, which the word mate means match. Okay, so just to make it simple. So I know in the in the conscious community, we want to kind of fly things up. So I know I've heard people say, yeah, mating comes from ma'at, because when you mate with someone, you balance. Well, yeah, I mean, we could say that, but it doesn't actually come from that. But yeah, you can throw it in there, it'll work. Yeah, we take it. Make a little gumbo with it. But the idea of mating is just matching. That's all. And we're not really taught a lot of times, at least in a public sense, those sciences of mating or those sciences of matching, because in doing so, we find our true divine religion. We find our true knowing, you see. So, like, again, when you read about it in biblical law, and it's like, this one knew that one, right? Well, in knowing someone, what you're essentially doing is you're knowing yourself. But you can only truly know your match. You can only come to that knowing through your own mating or through your own matching. See, that's the tricky part. So when you grow in a society, or you're gestated in a society where the awareness of yourself is completely stripped, your own culture is stripped, your mores are stripped, then it becomes very difficult to have an understanding of, well, what is my match? Because I may look down at my genitals and say, well, I can stick this thing in a lot of different things and it can bring me a measure of pleasure. So would that be considered sex? Would that be considered mating? Because I could take my genitals and put it in some pudding or some Jello or some mayonnaise. Am I mating? Is the mayonnaise or the Jello or the pudding my match? And I know I'm giving you some very strong extremes, but I'm not giving you unrealistic extremes, because males are disgusted, man. They find all different ways to get off. So, but anyway, so not understanding your origins in that sense and understanding what comprises you, it makes it very difficult to understand and to get a grasp on what's missing. So when you're mating or you're matching, you're actually recombining yourself. That's why it becomes a religion. It's rereading. You see, that knowing, or as they said in Coptic, the gnosis, which also, of course, means to know. But there's a relationship there with the word union. So knowing is union. Religion is a union. It's binding you back to what it is that you knew previously before you lost yourself. So understanding that, if you look at any divine entity, any divine being, you're always going to see this element of androgyny that's put forth, right? And again, to reiterate, androgyny doesn't necessarily mean homosexualization. It's not the same thing. Okay, so we can all celebrate our androgyny, but we don't necessarily have to, homosexualize ourselves in order to experience that. All right. So sometimes those ideas or certain words that shouldn't be are interchanged with one another, and it creates an unnecessary confusion, and then we start to have all of these kind of like emotional and even biological ambiguities of how our gender becomes expressed, because sometimes when you live in a socially dominant environment that almost to a degree forcibly draws you out of your natural traits, in order to establish that ambiguity, you lose some of the specific qualities that are expressed to your humanity. You actually lose it. So your mating becomes almost dangerous in a sense, because in truth, you're not mating at all. You're not mating if you're not matching in that sense. If you're not finding out how your assignments are supposed to be arranged, then it's very difficult to know what you're supposed to connect to in terms of that same arrangement in someone else. And, the principles of sex and the principles of mating are, as we say, souls coming together and bringing out that oneness or that unification. A lot of times, sadly, it's really presented in a way where there's a whole lot of fluff. There's a whole lot of fluff. You hear people talk about twin souls, and when they talk about sex and mating and relationships, they use terms that, we really live in a society, especially in the conscious community, where people a lot of times just do not know what they're talking about. They just have no clue. They just use words. They just spill out of them like diarrhea. So it's like you get your conscious kit and you're given this vocabulary list, and you're like, okay, whenever you lost, just throw one of these words and you'll be okay. Whenever someone challenges you, you can throw these words into the mix, and you can get them off your case. So you could throw words like balance and ma'at and cosmic and universe and energy, and and even love is thrown around a lot. So people throw these words around so much in hopes of establishing that joy inside of them, that it seems that people are engaged and engrossed in, who utilize this terminology and this phraseology. They just keep throwing it out, but they never really move beyond the ambiguity of those words. They never really move beyond, what the heck am I actually saying? And you see, that's the insanity of consciousness. Like when people say, people who maybe are not in the community, and they say things like, man, you mess around with that stuff, man, you're going to mess yourself up. Like they usually talk about like a spirit's going to jump on you or something like that. But it is true. You will mess yourself up, because, there's a toxic religious aspect to ignorance that many of us embrace. So coming into a space where, you're trying to find the perfect companion for your rebellion, and you find that Afro consciousness is that perfect companion and mating to your own egoic rebellion. You begin to use terminology and things that will feed the appetite to keep yourself really disunited and disharmonious with the realization of what you're really here to do and what you're really here to be. You become engrossed in and abstaining from intelligence. Really, that's what it is. You're abstaining from intelligence. So the idea here of mating, right? What it first requires is an understanding of matching. Real simple, right? Understanding of matching. Like, for instance, if you took a donkey and had it stick its phallus into the yoni of an elephant, you wouldn't be able to produce anything, because that's not a match. You see, so real simple, right? Real easy, real simple. So, in the same instance, you wouldn't take a zebra and attempt to mate that zebra with a giraffe. But even if you did try to mate a zebra with a giraffe, same thing, nothing's going to come out. But then you might say, but they're both in the horse family. Yeah, they are both in the horse family, particularly in the horse family as defined by people who are not horses. So we might say, well, we've determined that they're both in the horse family, so why aren't they making anything? Well, because they're more aware of their matching and their mating origins than we might be, you see. So a lot of times, as those who are perpetrating ourselves as humans, we end up doing the same thing. We look at people who walk on two legs, who have 5 digits or 10 digits, and who can speak, and they may even speak our own language, and we'll say, hey, this person's like me, I can mate with them, that they're a match, they're like me. And not necessarily so. No different than how a jackass and a zebra, or a jackass and a donkey and a giraffe would be a matching for one another, or a llama and a mule. would not be a matching for one another, even though when we look at them, we say, well, they're almost alike. But there are other cues and things that go into creating the divine law that makes that soul of that particular entity. There are things that go into the culmination of a proper mating that sometimes we are kept from. And these things we're going to cover, obviously. The first Sunday, whenever I'm speaking about a new topic, as many of you know, I try to keep it kind of light, kind of easy and light, just to kind of introduce you all to the subject itself. And I would have to say also empirically that we have to be very careful about putting blanket statements over the idea of matching and mating as well, because especially those of us who may not even be so in tune with our own matrix, our own makeup, our own beginnings. It's very difficult to then say how someone else should mate, or maybe very foolish and ignorant to say how someone else should mate. Okay, so I have to put that out there because there's been so many times, especially when I'm teaching, and it's usually when I'm teaching for free, that's really the danger zone when you're teaching something real. When you're giving it away for free, that's as a teacher, that's when you're in the danger. That's when you're going to work the hardest. Unless you're just with someone who's not foolish. But if you're talking to someone who's foolish, then they don't know what they're getting. They have no clue. If they're a foolish person, and trying to teach a fool is damn near impossible. To be honest with you, it's really a waste of time. But fools are so accessible that when you're giving something away, they're the ones who usually rush in. Teaching an intelligent person, even if they disagree with you, an intelligent person is looking for understanding more so than looking for confirmation. So they may say, yeah, I understand your point of view, I got it, and they're going to really get it. They're not just going to say, yeah, I got that, I get it. I shared recently with someone, and I'm going to put the video out at some point, but the greatest detriment to the movement or the work of those who call themselves students is the I already knew that personality. The I already knew that they're very sickening in many senses, but they are their own worst enemy. Anything you say, yeah, I knew that. yeah. So basically what you're saying is this, or they say things like, you'll break something down, you explain it, and they'll just say, yeah, I knew that. You didn't know it, because if you knew it, I wouldn't have had to say it. You didn't know it. That happens sometimes in readings. You do a reading. I've done that before. You do a E5 reading, and the person turns around and says, yeah, basically everything you're saying I already knew. Fool, if you already knew it, E5 would not have said it to you. You don't know it. You see, you may have heard the words before. See, that listening comprehension is a deep thing, man. It's real deep. Some people, they hear one word and they assume that they know the rest of what you're going to say. So they'll blank out. If you say something like, perception is all in the mind, so therefore whatever it is you perceive becomes what it is that you think about. That's one statement, right? And then if I say something like, perception becomes reality for many people. So the way you perceive the world is really how the reality of the world unfolds. And then I'll take a third statement. If I say something like, perception is something that can be graded on a quality scale, because the truth is, as you become more aware of the world and more aware of yourself, your level of perception increases and raises. So, a higher perspective sees a different level of danger as well as a different level of fortune than a lower perspective does. Right? I just made those three statements up. But I know, and I'm picturing their faces while I'm talking. There's a lot of people that will hear the word perception, and that's it. They stop right there. Perception. And then they'll say, I just gave you three different ideas, and they'll turn around and say, Like, let's say if I did that on 3 different segments, they'll say, yeah, you pretty much said the same. You said that same thing before. Yeah, you said that already. You taught about that already. And like I've said before, I never repeat my content. It seems like it. I may repeat certain phrases because I have to drill it in. Like what I just said just now, I've said before. I basically said that people be hard-headed and they don't listen properly. I'm just saying it in a different way, but I've said this before. But it's that I already knew that mentality. Those are the people that stay lost. They stay stuck. They don't get anywhere. Whatever they have right now is what they always going to have. They're going to die with it clenched in their hand. That little bit of understanding that they don't even have, because they ain't even got that. But that little bit that they think they have, word perception, that's it. They're going to leave with that. You see? And that's one of the hardest things as an instructor to have to work with. The I already told you so's, because a lot of times the I already told you so's, they're sneaky. They'll sit there quiet. You could break something down for 2 hours. They'll sit there quiet the whole time. And then after you finish sweating and putting it all, on the stage like James Brown and MC Hammer, after 2 hours, it'd be like, they'll come up to you, yeah, thanks a lot for that, man. That was real informative. I mean, basically, you already said everything I knew, but it was real confirming to the things I already knew already, man. So just let me know that I'm doing the right thing, man. I'm going in the right direction. Oh, man. Man, oh, man. When they do that, you just want to take your tablet or your clipboard, whatever you're doing the notes on, and I swear, just jam it right in their Adam's apple. Boom! Just end this right here. I'm joking. You don't want to do that. No, but you do kind of just like, really? Really? You already knew all that, huh? Man, and you should be up here teaching. So it's a really it's an interesting and it's a really dangerous phenomenon. And the same thing happens in our mating. We assume, well, the man puts his jiggly in the girl's jing, and then the baby come out 9 months later. And sometimes that was all the teaching that we received, as youth. Or don't come back here pregnant, or don't bring any woman, don't bring nobody back here pregnant. I ain't ready for no grandchildren. That was it. That was the talk. So as we go forward, our subconscious is still working on that information. We're consciously moving through different annals of wisdom, but we have that. I already know that. So when someone mentions the term sex, we already know. Oh, sex. Oh man, you take your ding dong, you put it in the girl's poom poom. That's sex. I already know what it is. So if someone starts to break it down, or someone says something like, "Hey man, the letter sex is related to the letter S." Okay. And like they won't go down that path with you. They won't go down the S path. And you could say, well, the S is actually the serpent. It's the S. Okay. And well, the serpent and the S, it relates to the Kundalini. And, like you have the Caduceus staff and you have the 2 serpents. So the 2 serpents represent actually the two halves of souls that are reuniting around the structure of the spine. Yeah, I knew that. You take your ding dong and you put it in the girl's poom poom. Poom tang. I told you, same thing I said. We basically saying the same thing. That's the other, I already knew that's their famous closer. We're basically saying the same thing. That's how it goes, man. That's exactly how it goes. So, even though I share that to say that even though it may seem like a very base and simple subject, that I definitely warn you, do not zone out, because mating seems like something that's very rudimentary. Because even if you look at the markings, the occurrence of certain markings that our ancestors and our ancients have left us, on so many monuments and shrines and tombs and reliefs, you find so many markings that constitute the different analysis, maybe even rules and interpretations of intercourse, right? And especially if you get into that Hindi art, man, they deal with all the different probabilities of what intercourse could be. I mean, they really, those Indians, man, they're some limber people. They're very limber, you know. So, but you start to understand with so much instruction coming forth and so many occurrences of these different images, and seeing all of the different strains of feminine expression of sexuality, so many different strains of masculine expression of sexuality, you start to understand that maybe we're not as in the know as we think we are. Because that would be like our ancestors leaving a relief showing you how to tie your shoes or how not to miss a belt loop or how to match your socks, see, or how to walk up and down or get on and off of an escalator, right? Because sex is so primal. Why would you really need instructions on something that animals know when to do and how to do and how many times to do? Beast of the field, insects even. Why would I need this much instruction? Unless my ancestors foresaw that I would be devolving to such a degree and such a level, especially because of my ego. That's why it says, know thyself, O man. Because in knowing yourself, you will know the gods. Know thyself, old man, because you're aging. You're the only thing that's old, And why is it that you're aging? Well, because of your desires of sex. You see, before we began to, extend ourselves through the recombination, because we were separated, but through the recombination of the masculine and feminine element, we had a purity of soul. We weren't desirous of the physical piece, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. A lot of different traditions will teach you that that's the problem. So they will teach to abstain. They'll teach abstinence, or at the very least, they'll teach ejaculation. So essentially, when you're ejaculating as a man, you're not expelling your seminal fluid outside of you, but you're holding it within your system. And of course, there's a proper way to do it, because if you do it incorrectly, you still actually produce the fluid, but it just turns rancid inside of your body. And you don't want that. I don't know if any of you have ever been around rancid sperm, but it's super funky. And because it has that blood element, it attracts flies, all kind of things, So it looks pretty and everything when it first comes out, but give it a day or so. So having that inside of your system is not the greatest thing. But there's so many different systems that will teach you to either abstain or to ejaculate, but essentially they're expressing that the recombination through that sexuality and through the carnality or the desire of sex becomes the issue. And so many different systems, this is where the justification of I guess we could say demonizing, if you want, the feminine element came into place, because it was always noted that the feminine, even though because we're so out of balance, of course, but we always look at it as the man having a much stronger desire for sex than the woman. And of course, part of that is too because raised in a society where the civilization of the female becomes the hallmark of that particular society. That's why, like, if you look in the South, you have the concept of the Southern Belle, right? And the Southern Belle was so important to the South because you were looking at regions of straight up savages, right? So the idea there was that as long as there was a maintenance of the Southern Belle, there was a maintenance of and of the purity of the woman, that it spoke to where we were as a society. That's why it was so important, in turn, as far as keeping her protected. It wasn't just that he had all this great love for his woman. or hey, Miss Annabelle, and all that tipping your hat and all of that stuff and making sure no other man got to her. It wasn't really about that. It was just that he was such a savage that having that Southern belle, it really validated him and made him seem less savage than what he actually was. All right. So again, the idea there a lot of times is in terms of sexuality, we're driven away from it because of what we've decided to adopt, in terms of our perspectives, without really rejoining ourselves to the truth, rejoining ourselves to reality. So again, I'm not necessarily advocating abstinence, celibacy, anything like that. We're going to break it down and you can kind of make a decision for yourself as to, what works and what doesn't work. But, understand that when you're conjoining with your natural counterpart, if you're a man, your natural counterpart is a woman. If you're a woman, the natural counterpart is a man. All right. Now, that's in my culture. In other folks' culture, nature expresses its own thing, its own way. So I am never one to say that homosexuality, I'm just going to say it, let's just put it out there. I'm never one to say that homosexuality is unnatural, because that's not something that I feel. That's not something that I think. I don't think that homosexuality is unnatural. I don't even think that pedophilia is unnatural. It's unnatural for me. Homosexuality is unnatural for me and my family and my ethnic group, and pedophilia is unnatural for me and my family and my ethnic group. But what becomes natural or what becomes unnatural is always dictated upon what the universe needs from a certain group of people. So if it's necessary that my seed be prolonged and my genetics be spread throughout the earth, then I'm not going to have a natural inclination to ending my family line. I'm not going to have a natural inclination towards death culture, because the universe and the cosmos is urging me to become more of me, more of what I am. Whereas maybe if, my time is up, then I may start to develop and it may evolve even into a natural urging and inclination to no longer express my creativity into a vessel that can extend it. I may be told, well, express it into a sex bot, express it into a rubber doll or rubber blow up girl or whatever, right? So and that's notwithstanding the socialization that comes. Now see, here's a great example of the listening. You know how many people are going to listen to that statement and say that I support homosexuality? Watch. I know it. It's always those feeble-minded ones who I do consultations for later, and they like to throw in their little shots, and they'll say, well, you support homosexuality. No, I don't. You said it on your show. Yes, you do. And I have to hold myself back from saying, no, dummy, you didn't understand, because you got a feeble mind. You got a little tiny pea brain mind. You didn't get what I was saying. I can't say things like that because I'm a chief and a priest. So I have to say, no, I don't. I got to do it the humane way. No, I don't think that's what I was breaking down. I think I was saying something different, because that's not really even a part of my philosophy. If you've been listening, I have been listening. That's why I'm saying it. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. I know it should be things that I shouldn't laugh at, right? It should be things that I should be upset about. But yeah, it's laughable sometimes. Sorry, it just is. But when we're connecting with our mating, the important thing is that we understand all the appendages and the addendums of what our core actually is to know what to meet with. So, for instance, like when you look at the Caduceus staff, right, and which was always a symbol of Tahuti, which was later stolen by Hermes, and then stolen by your local ambulance company. But we look at the staff, right, which is again the spine, and then we look at the snakes around it, right, and then you have a duality of the snake. They're wrapped around the staff, and then their heads meet at the top, and they're facing one another, right? But they're intertwined their bodies around each other, and as well as intertwining their bodies around the staff. Now, and real basic understanding, like you start to see, even like with Quetzalcoatl, you start to see with Vishnu, and Lakshmi, even Moshe, right? You start to see and Moshe, for many of you may know him as Moses or Musa, right? But in Hebrew, Moshe. But you start to see the inclusion, why that serpent is there, that Damballa is ever present, and so many different traditions. There's always some type of rainbow serpent or Sumare, or even in our Aboriginal culture in Australia, you have the rainbow serpent as well. But you see that inclusion of that serpent. Daryl Orridge says, I'm just going to read a comment real quick. I can't think of a situation in which the universe may need homosexuality, though. Yeah, well, the universe is much smarter than you and I. So the way it devises its plans, it would be unknown to you and I, like I said, again, if there was a certain culture that needed to end, that's a way to end it, right? Because it is a death culture. Here's a simple thing. I'm gonna give you one that I always said I would never say on air, and I've hinted to it before, but I'm gonna say it because what the heck, right? If a certain group or culture has suppressed the feminine for a very long time, and that energy being suppressed, at some point wouldn't seek balance, or wouldn't it? Yeah, it would seek balance, right? So let's say if you took 5,000 years, right? Let's say you were only here for 6,000, but you took 5,000 and you decided to subdue your woman, right? And, over the course of time, of course, those women, they become ancestral women, and that ancestral energy builds up over time. And they say, wait a minute, man, come on, Jack, this cat been, suppressing us for 5,000 years now. Now we're imbalanced. Now we got too much yang, not enough yin. So from an energetic perspective, it says, well, how can we bring some more yin to the forefront? Because if a regular old female tries to make it happen, they're going to just put her back down because they've been subduing us for 5,000 years. And then they may say, okay, well, maybe we can march and we can demand for our rights as feminine entities. And then some will do that, but then maybe the ones who are not fools will say, well, you know what? That kind of still empowers him because he's the one who's granting us those rights. And all of our marching, all we're really doing is whining because we can't really do anything about it. It ain't like we're going to grab up some we ain't like we're going to grip up, and start putting guns at cats' heads. Like, you're going to give us some female rights. We're not going to do that. We can't. We're not strong enough. We're not fast enough. We're not vicious enough. We can't get around them and the physical. So maybe somewhere deep down there in the abyss of spirit, something says, well, you know what? We can rebalance this out by effeminizing those who are currently subduing us, even down to effeminizing their politics and culture. And those of us who want to be strong enough to stand up and say, hey, man, you're going to stop subduing me, maybe we'll reincarnate ourselves and be a little bit more brolic. So instead of coming through looking like Elizabeth Taylor, we're going to come through looking like John Cena or Cena, whatever the heck his name is. Or we're going to come through looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but we got vaginas and breasts. You see? So no matter what, we're going to figure out a way to get this feminine energy back to the forefront, because like all things, if you suppress it long enough and if you squeeze it down long enough, you deform it. So when it finally does emerge, it's not going to emerge in a way that it was meant to emerge. It's going to emerge deformed, just like your thoughts. If you suppress your feelings or your thoughts long enough, you suppress hurt long enough, for example. Well, what does suppressed hurt look like when it finally comes out? Anger. But that's not what went in. That's not what was trying to be expressed in the beginning. I'm hurt. I don't want to hear shut the hell up. I'm hurt. Shut up. So you gotta shut your mouth and keep it inside, and then eventually it comes out all distorted and messed up in the form of anger. Well, and it's just a theory. This is just me yip yapping. I could be totally crazy. But if you have a group of people who suppress their feminine energy for long enough, then it is going to find a way to come back forward. But when it comes back forward, it's going to be a distorted form of that feminine energy. Now, in your intelligence, you got to be smart enough to say, well, is that my story? Because if it ain't my story, I ain't got nothing to do with that, man. Y'all, you do what you need to do. But it ain't my story. Like for me and my culture, that's not my culture. We don't have an elongated history of suppressing our feminine energy. We don't have a elongated history of suppressing our masculine energy. We got a recent new history of suppressing the masculine now that we've decided to take on the culture of the Western Anglosphere. Now we've taken on somebody else's story that ain't even ours, and we got our women marching for things that ain't got nothing to do with them. But, again, women are the world's suckers, man. They fall for a lot of different stupid things they shouldn't be involved in, and then it comes back later to bite them on their behind. Like when their men say, well, you know what, the hell with you. I'm going to go to another culture that actually knows how to act right. Then you say, where you going, brother? Brother? Where you going? So you got to be careful whose story you take on, man. Sometimes they ain't got nothing to do with you. But I would just say that, Brother Darryl, as a possibility. I think there's different ways to look at it. It's very difficult when we, like you said, I can't think of a situation. Well, as soon as you start thinking, you're functioning outside of the soul. So, the way the soul orchestrates things sometimes is so complex and so interesting that you and I would never have thought of that, to do something like that, man. You and I would never see something like that, man. So sometimes you gotta sit back and watch, and just kind of look at the results. Take a study and then look at the results and look at the things that have been knocked out and punched out in your own realization and in your own thinking, and learn how to be able to discriminate between ancestries. Sometimes, and that's a major and important factor, even in our breeding and our mating. Sometimes we don't know how to discriminate, between the different strains of ancestral contribution, because we look at it all as just being the same. But, I used to always say years ago, and I got this from an old head in the neighborhood. I was going through something one time, and I was trying to make a situation work with someone, and the sister just was not. She just couldn't come up to the level of the vision of what it was that I was doing at that time. And this old head, he used to always talk to me a lot. And he said, "Yeah, boy, you can't mate a jackass with a thoroughbred." No, he said jackass with a racehorse. I turned it into thoroughbred. But he'd always say, "You can't mate a jackass and a racehorse." And it was so true. Sometimes not being aware of people's ancestral establishment points. You're looking for a balance in the mating, and it's the person that's just not adequate for what it is that you're trying to establish, because you two don't make the right mating. You two don't make the right match. So you may have a vision for something, and they just cannot see it because they're not that superior breed. That's just the truth of it. I know it sounds rough and it sounds real arrogant, man, but sometimes we're looking at people as just empty vessels, and as long as we put good stuff inside of them, man, they're gonna run at their and function at their highest speed. But not all thoroughbreds, man, have the same stamina. They don't all have the same level of endurance, man. Even when you I don't want to get into the dog thing, because I know it's going to be somebody foolish that's going to say, "Are you comparing us to dogs? It's bad enough you comparing us to horses." And I don't feel like it today, because I just don't. So I think you understand what I'm saying, because I know what comes next after this. But That old head had a good point, and it carried. I was very young when he's telling me that, and I was very egotistical at that age, but I didn't understand how the different ways that ego plays itself out. And the way my ego used to play itself out when I was younger, I had this thought in my mind that anything that I did that someone else could do. So my thing was, if I encounter a certain kind of information or a certain type of wisdom, and I give that wisdom or information to you, you should now be able to see the same things that I'm seeing. You see? And that was very egotistical. That was the whole Messiah and Savior idea. I'm gonna get all my information, then I'm gonna give it to you, then you gonna raise up. But everybody has their own journey. But at that age I didn't understand that so much, because I saw people as being a lot more generic than they really are. I didn't even really see some of the total differences in gender, and the differences that were there were very irrelevant to me in a sense, in terms of what a person could do and what a person could see and how a person learns and things like that. And I didn't respect the fact that, learning how to discriminate, when you're looking at a people's ancestry, you'll learn that different people have different levels of speed and different levels of stamina and endurance, and they interpret things differently. So the same way you're interpreting the pedigree of their stock, they interpret the world differently. So that becomes important in our cycles and our movements towards mating. Learning a very simple word that I use a lot that people don't like, but I don't care. I don't care. Pedigree. I've been saying that for years. Pedigree. And I mean years, since I was a teenager. Some of my brethren would sometimes say, hey, so and so like you, or so. I look at it, man, she beneath my pedigree. What do you mean? That's dog food. It ain't dog food, dummy. Look it up. That's beneath my pedigree. I'm not going there with that. No. You have to know yourself in order to know how to mate in an intelligent way, man. And know who's above your pedigree. And sometimes you might get into a little hypergamy. You may say, well, this person's above my pedigree, but I'm gonna see if I can date up. I can screw up, quote unquote. And sometimes it may work out for you. That person may show you some grace, or they may be dumb in certain areas and not know that they shouldn't even be messing with you to begin with. But sometimes when we luck up in those spots like that, we don't know how to act, and we end up screwing it up anyway. It's like trying to give something to someone who ain't never had nothing. They don't know how to act right. They start peeing all in the elevators, and you know what I'm talking about. You know the reference. All right, I'm gonna take a look at this chat for a minute. So Anwar says, let's take it a step up. Think about the strategic planning of a culture, Western in parentheses. Strategic planning of a culture is creating. Oh man, no, I can't answer that phone right now, brother. Don't y'all know? I'm sorry about that. People don't know what I do on Sundays, So he says, I'm sorry, let me start from the beginning. He says, let's take it a step up. Think about the strategic planning of a culture is creating on other cultures by suppressing the feminine and masculine energies. Yeah. Brother Haru says, I fell victim to that move more than once, in terms of trying to build my mate. Well, as a man, it's a little bit different, man. Part of your job is to fill your woman with that light. You know what I mean? So the light is going to build, it's going to create a different person inside of her, but she has to be receptive to it. If she's not receptive to it, you can't force feed anybody light. You can't force feed anybody information, because all they'll do is say, yeah, I already knew that. You'll get one of those. So, that is a difficult one. And a lot of times it's because as men, we have very low self-esteem in this country. We're told from very young that we're nothing. You ain't nothing. From very young. We ain't about nothing with nothing. We ain't really never gonna do anything. And then especially as melanoid men, because this is an issue it's an American issue. It's a Western issue, man. It's not just us. It's not just melanoid. And when I say us, I know I have all different races that listen to these segments. So but you understand probably the predominant is most likely melanoid. But anyway, yeah, we don't really have a proper sense of esteem, man. So we get into situations and, a lot of times we're disappointed with ourselves because we haven't built and unleashed this person that we're supposed to be inside because we got low self-esteem. So we say, well, man, maybe I can find me one of these raggedy broads out here and turn her into a project, get myself a real fixer-upper, So every relationship we come into, we look at it as a project, you see. So when you're looking at things in terms of that, every woman is a project, then, remember, it's the law of attraction. Where your mind predominantly is what you will predominantly attract into your life. So you essentially look for women to be projects. And it might be a great woman who walks right by you, and she needs you for something different. They all need us. There's no getting around that. All women need men. They talk that crap. They need you. And especially in the melanoid community, you got to get what you're supposed to get, so you don't need no man. That's that dumbass slave wisdom. You send your daughter to college for what? So she doesn't need a man in life. But then powerful races who are doing things on the planet, they send their daughters to college so they can meet a qualified mate. You see? They go hang out at certain areas. Well, let's go to the law library. That's where all the law students are. I'm gonna snag me a lawyer. Well, I'm gonna go over to the medicine department. I'm gonna go over here and see, snag me a doctor, snag me an engineer. Other groups of people, they send their daughters to college to snag qualified men. We send our daughters to college so you don't need no man. You see the backwards ass thinking. Excuse my Swahili, but so yeah, that idea a lot of times is perpetuated, by males who don't really have that sense of esteem, where you've built yourself up in a way, or you can really take inventory on how you built yourself up, where you could turn around and say, well, listen, this is beneath me. I ain't doing this. Nah, not this one. It's like being in a strip club and, a sister walk by, man, and she holding a knife in between her teeth, man, and she got a doggone bullet hole in her shoulder with a tattoo point next to it saying, missed me or something like that. You want to dance? Nah. Now for some of you brothers, that's your lane right there. That's you. That's all you right there. All right, step your game down. That's you. But for some of you, you might say, no, I'm gonna wait to Peaches. I'm gonna wait to Diamond from the Players Club get off the stage. I'm gonna rock with Diamond tonight. So it's kind of knowing your own pedigree and having a greater sense of your own wealth, so you don't get into those situations like that where you're looking for every sister to be a project, because some don't necessarily need you to build them up in that same way, because they had good fathers. They had good men in their lives. So they're looking for something different from you in terms of building. But there's always going to be some form of shaping in that sense, and love is transformative. It's like Kashif said, love changes. So, love is going to change you, male or female. It's going to transform and change you. In fact, there was a study done not too long ago where it was saying that I think it was 49% individuals who are in love relationships fare much better in entrepreneurial pursuits, because, of course, that love relation, when they're in love, so when they couple it together, so you find that a lot of people who build empires, they had, like men I'm speaking of, there was a woman there somewhere, and not necessarily that she built it with him, but he had a rider with him. She was riding with him. She was in love with him. Maybe he built 2 or 3 companies and lost them, and had to start all over again. And she's sleeping on the sofa with him, and, they arguing, move over, ain't enough room on the sofa, but they rode it out together, man. So, there is a value to it for both, man. It does enhance and well, sometimes it brings you to your lowest lows, but it does change you, So Jamie says, A theory I had was that homosexuality is a way for nature to keep the population in check. They are not having too many babies, even though the entertainment and media are trying to change that. Yeah. Yeah. I know you talking about they. You talking about massa. You better stop talking about massa. You gonna be in a whole heap of trouble. You gonna be a whole heap of trouble. You keep talking about massa. Yo, you know the other aspect to that is this. You know, we keep blaming all the steroids and stuff in the milk now for why white girls got behinds. You know, or like they hitting the gym, they doing them squats. White girls got butt now. Yeah, they do. They do. But you know what it is too? It's genetic survival. Right? They know what we want. So they say, well, hey man, we want to get with the mandingo. So we ain't gonna be able to do it with this pancake action. So they start to evolve into something else in order to extend their mating potential and capabilities. Now, I hope that one didn't go over too many heads. You know, I don't want to dig into that one too much. But Becky with the butt now. It's not just that she's drinking milk that got hormones in it. It's not just that she's hitting the gym and doing squats. She's evolving, so she can mate with the ones that she wants to mate with. All right, let's see. There was some more in here. I think Brother Haru says the gerbil will culture have melanoid women chasing a check. Yeah. I mean, it has all of us. I can't just put it on them. It has all of us, kind of. Well, not me, but a lot of people chasing a check. But really, what she's chasing is not necessarily the check. She's chasing security. She wants that security. She wants that power, and she wants that recognition. But more than anything, she wants that security because she's been taught that there's no security in her own. But also keep in mind that there's a lot of female entrepreneurs that pop up. I think actually they outnumber the melanoid male entrepreneurs. So they are getting their confidence up, man, and they're going out and taking control of the marketplace, which is what they were designed to do. All right. Low asked what strip club you going to? I don't go to strip club, brothers. I was just giving an example there. I don't go to strip clubs. If I do go to strip clubs, it's not for what everybody else is there for. Trust me, I'm probably there picking somebody up. Yeah. He said I meant hamster wheel. Oh yeah, same thing, I guess. And then he says same damn thing, no rat race, right? Brother Haru also says, in more cases than not, I have to build them in such a way just for them to try to understand my general perspectives other than liberation. Yeah, but here's the thing though, brother. I don't know how old you are. I'm going to assume you're over 24, 25, right? If you are, then charm school is over. You can't be a 25, 26, 27-year-old man and still having to tell a woman, basic things like, don't yell at me. You shouldn't speak when other people are speaking. Don't put your fingers in my face. That's charm school 101. And a lot of times, again, because we have such low expectations for ourselves, we don't understand the value of someone who comes and has some degree of culture and someone who is really who celebrates their femininity and their etiquette. And let me put this, and this isn't, this isn't some, I know a lot of people when they say one thing about a woman, they figure I say something about a man. That's some simp stuff. Where the guy says, and let me let you guys know. It's not one of them, but I do have to say that. Same thing for you females, man. There's some basics that a guy is supposed to have down by at a certain point. After a certain age, he's supposed to have his emotions in check, man. He's supposed to still be, punching holes through walls in the house and kicking TVs over, even if you're an idiot. Even if you're an idiot, He's not supposed to be doing stuff like that. We all, well, a lot of us go through those phases, but there's certain levels of development that he's supposed to have at a certain time, man. He shouldn't be 30 years old and still blowing money all the time. Got a closet full of sneakers but ain't got no dough. Or talking about let me get you pregnant, and he has no resources, so that the pregnancy or the child is a pleasure and not another burden. So it's certain things that just are a part of being a well-adjusted person, that sometimes we look at and we lump it into a person being unconscious, but it's not that. It's just they have no etiquette. No one has ever put them through charm school. You got that some people, some women, 25, 30 years old, and they never had a mother or a grandmother and sit them down and talk to them about their menses, or how to go through a menses properly, how to clean themselves properly. They've never had those talks, or about sex, or about what men really want. Aside from they just want sex, girl, really having that conversation with them. Some have never been opened up to that type of information. It's not their fault, it's just what they were born into. And it's the same thing for a lot of guys, man. How many of you guys have had a father, man, who made you work on the car with him, or who owned a car? How many of you remember losing your whole Saturday because you had to hold a ladder? Your pops wanted to do something, and he hold a ladder. But we supposed to go to the pool. What? Nothing. You got to hold a ladder this Saturday, or you got to pass him up his Phillips head. And you got to learn the difference between a ratchet and a doggone compression ratchet. What's the difference between the two of them? You gotta learn that. Or he's underneath the car and telling you to pass him the wrench for the oil filter, and you don't know what the heck that thing is. So how many of you've had that? And I'm just giving you real basic stuff. I mean, how many of you had a father sit down and talk to you about money? Tell you what money really is. Talk to you about business ownership, or sat down and opened up a Wall Street Journal in front of you and showed you how to look at the Dow and showed you what investing really is, and different levels and forms of investing. How many of them actually took you to their job with them, made you work with them some days, man, so you could get that acclamation, and you got to see how your father was treated and respected in a public environment. So what I'm saying is that there's a lot missing in terms of what women are supposed to receive and what men are supposed to receive. So we end up sometimes doing that whole project thing, but that's not for you to do. You can't stick your ding dong in a woman and at the same time teach her charm and etiquette. It ain't gonna work. She's gonna do it for a little while because she likes you, and she might even find it sexy, but the moment it becomes unsexy, or you really have her do something she doesn't feel like doing, then it's, or maybe, you fall off in the bed, then the reality of what it really is going to come straight out, So, yeah, sometimes dating beneath your pedigree can be very dangerous in that sense, to what it is that you want to build, Brother Anwar says, men need to provide the security for the umbrella, physical, mental, and spiritual security. Yeah, absolutely. Men should provide the security, like you said, the physical security, the mental security, and the spiritual security. And we naturally can do that. And here's the thing. A woman need to keep her ass underneath that goddamn umbrella. Okay? So don't put that part in there too. Because a lot of times you become rusty. You lose your ability to do those things because you got a rebellious, hard-headed female that doesn't want to come under anything. She gonna sit there and look at you and say, I got my own umbrella too. Why can't we stand side by side like Osiris and Isis? Let's stand side by side and do this together. We are doing it together, but you got to roll and I got to roll. Get your ass underneath the umbrella. But I want to see your face eye to eye. Get your ass on the umbrella. Men, you gotta be ready sometimes to look at it square in the eyes and say, you know what? Pack your sugar honey iced tea and get the F out. You gotta be, I know this is rough, man. I know I'm gonna lose some listeners on this one, boy. But you got to be man enough to stick by your principles sometimes. And a lot of times y'all aren't. And when you aren't man enough to stick by your principles, it throws the whole system off. Because sometimes she's just acting crazy like that to see if you really about what you're saying you about. She wants to see if you know, and she'll, you know, it's not put on a whole big show. She'll pack up her stuff, come downstairs with it, and I called the cab. All right, mama. Bye. You know? I remember I put one out in the dead of winter. One time some sisters were here and they were like, you really gonna make her wait outside? Oh, hell yeah, she gonna wait outside. She's done up in here. She raised her voice at me. And I don't play that. Don't raise your voice at me. I ain't gonna be yelling and hollering in your face. Don't holler in my face. Don't do that. And that was a very clear rule in the beginning, and try to see if she could get away with it. You know, I said, oh, don't do this. Don't do this. Did it again. I said, all right, pack it, sugar, honey, iced tea, get the F out. You got to be out. You know, I think I gave her about 4 hours. I said, you got to be out in about 4 hours. You know, and yeah, man, you know, she waited in a sunny spot. It was winter out there, but there was a little bit of sun out there, man. You know, that's how it is. See, you know, and a lot of guys I know, I see Marvin saying, oh, dear. Yeah, you know. Don't worry. A lot of guys don't really have what I have in me. So, you know, they'll go for the BS. But see, when you go for the BS, you don't give her anything strong to lean on. So you're giving her this weak, floppy umbrella. And then she says, well, you know what? This guy is soft anyway, so I might as well just do this on my own. And now you end up sending her back out to the wolves. Sometimes you got to protect a person from themselves, man. And you guys got to learn that, man. A lot of you guys, you're so obsessed with how she's going to feel about me being a man. And if your manhood is dependent on how someone else is going to feel about it, then you're not really a man at all. You know, but yeah, if I say this, if I put my foot down, she going to go up. Well, hey, that's just how it is, man. You know, I get those kind of emails all the time, and I really don't have much answer for you, man. Man up. That's all she wants from you. She just wants you to man up. And sometimes she's going to test you, man, because how else can she test you? You know, you look at all the different quote unquote leaders and teachers and stuff that we come across in the conscious groups who come on with all this hyper masculinity and and you know, we're gonna do this and we're gonna take it straight to their chest and we gonna blip, 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 and they doing all this barking and all of this, and then when they get into a compromising position, you see all the Mary Jane come up out of them. All the Mary Jane come up out of them. You know what I mean? So you got sisters who got years and years of seeing that, and they've now realized that, you know, everything that isn't what meets the eye. You know, that there's something else here, and I have to figure out different ways to determine if this individual is what they say they are, and if they are what they say they are, if I test them, it shouldn't really be that big a deal. You see, like when I kicked that fool out, man, I went right back inside. I think, what was I doing, man? What was I doing? Oh, I was working on that song. It's a New Day, the one that we play sometimes. I was working on that. I went back inside and put my headphones on, kept working on my music. It wasn't even a thought. I wasn't even thinking about it. You see? Because it's nothing for me to be a man. You see? So it's only when you're stretching and you're moving outside of your natural position, or you're mating wrong. You're mating in a way where you're trying to connect something to something else that doesn't even exist. So then you have to grow new appendages in order to mate to something that you wasn't supposed to mate to begin with. Then it becomes very difficult. It becomes very laborious. But if you're able to be what you're supposed to be at all times, for one, you maintain your integral structure of how you were formulated by the divine father and mother to begin with. And you also maintain your credibility. You got to be about what you say that you're about. You see, and I know, again, people think I'm harsh and all that, but you know, I don't really care what y'all think, man. I keep it real with you, man. Especially when it comes to how I put my family together. You know, because you're here to learn. Your judgment doesn't mean anything. Nothing at all to me. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. It's like when you got kindergartners that say they want to stop working on their penmanship or whatever they or they don't want to finger paint anymore, and the teacher knows like, no, you need this, but they can't see it. They can't see beyond the horizon. Never been there, so they're gonna have all kind of things. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, man, I had this teacher, Miss Boyle. Oh man, Miss Boyle was horrible. Miss Boyle had this big old wart, man, and she was abusive too, man. She used to shake us and pinch us. You wasn't allowed to do that stuff, man, but she was sneaky. And I remember it was like, oh man, it was great, man. Miss Boyle ended up getting ammonia, and when she got that, pneumonia, ammonia. She probably had that too, but she ended up getting pneumonia, and she was gone like half the year. We had a different teacher, and we threw a little mini party because she was gone. I know this is bad in hindsight. I look back at it, man, but she was so mean, man. I remember she shook me so hard one time, man, and put one of them stupid, you know how they used to take those letters? You got to take a letter home, and they pin it to your shirt. Remember, I told you I didn't wear store-bought clothes, and for a long time, my mother made I wore dashikis every single day. So she pinned that joint on dashiki and shook me so hard. Of course, because, I don't want to get into it, of course, but shook me so hard that messed up the pin was like pulling through the fabric. Man, I came home with that. And then she wrote a letter in red. I never forget that. My mother looked at that letter and said, that letter, my pops looked over. He said, oh, wait a minute. What's she writing in red for? The F is she trying to say? And that was, ooh. And then so he looking at the letter. And then my mother's looking at my shirt. Notice B.I.T. Y'all, she went off, So anyway, she I ain't even tell her about the shaking really, because I ain't want anybody to get shot. So when she was out, man, she ended up sending us a card. I never forget it, to this day. It was so long ago. And she said, I'm still in the hospital and this and that, but I miss what does she call us? All my little sweeties. I miss all of my little sweeties, and hopefully I'll be better soon. And we were all looking at each other like, no, this didn't. What? Trying to show off for the principal. But that was, she actually was so hard and rough on us like that because she cared, right? And no, I didn't deserve the shaking, spirit driven. I don't remember what it was for, but I know it was fueled by, there was this girl in my class, Teresa, and we were playing opposite day that day. And Teresa came up to me and she said, I really, really hate you. I really, really hate you. She kept saying it. And I was like, oh, you like me. She's like, it's opposite day. I said, yeah, I know what you're saying. And I think I might grab the butt or something like that, man. I know I did something that boys that age is not supposed to know how to do, but yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I remember because she was a thick little Puerto Rican joint, and I think I grabbed her, and I got shook. But anyway, so yeah, a lot of times, like I said, people will look at those things and say, oh, Chief, you too rough, man, y'all too soft. That's why we out here losing. We're losing left and right because you're too soft, man. You don't have principles. You don't stand by your principles. So of course she sees that and she says, man, I don't want to be a part of this, man. This is not what I was formulated and created upon. I was created on the basis of love. And this guy doesn't even love me enough to stay to his principles. So how can I really join in union with this and create a divine marriage with someone who has no principles? I might as well I could do better. Like they say, I could do better by my damn self. So when you start to understand, like the religion of a relationship, that recombining of a relationship, man, it's that recombining is becoming your divine self again. You see, when you're separated, this is the truth of it. I know this is rough, man, because I have a good brother of mine, man. He hasn't been with a woman in 30. Let me see. Okay. What year? 2017. We're now 2008. What is that? 9 years plus 9. Wow, damn. 42 years last time he touched a woman. He ain't locked up or anything. He's out. 42 years, right? And he brags about it sometimes, and he's like, yeah, because I done mastered my lower nature. And I told him one day, I didn't want to get into him too heavy, but I said, well, yeah, but I said, that's kind of like saying, I don't know how to moderate my diet, so I'm just going to fast. So you've actually gone to an extreme, so I don't really think that's mastering, because you haven't really learned how to control it in that sense. You've just stayed away from it. And he literally does. Sometimes women, I've seen it. Women come there, man, they'll tell me, yeah, that sister was trying to get next to me, man, but nah, man. I was like, let me get up out of here. Why? What you mean, let me get up out? Why? You afraid of the poom poom? Do a Grace Jones. He needed Grace Jones in his life. But yeah, so again, like I said, when you don't have the sense and the competency or even the heart to understand that, when you stay within to yourself like that, you're really, a lot of times your partnership is really with the material plane. And when you're conjoining again, you become, you're going around that staff and you're intertwining and you're mating properly. That is really that representation of that Shiva and Shakti. That's really when you experience what we call your divinity. So through sexual union, we actually achieve divinity, because the sexual union itself is a religion. Religion is what? To bind back, to reread. So it's through that actual union that we combine ourselves. But there's a certain mating that happens even before the union. Like I said, when unions are done out of love, it's much different than when something is done in an adulterous fashion. Right? In adulterous fashion, it's just when you're unfaithful to the actual tenets and the sciences that create that soul companion. You basically eclipse, the value of all of those things for what you want to indulge in. Basically, you just want to get an NUT. All right, and I could have spelled out other words, but I know there's children who listen. But you just wanted to get that. Right, you just wanted that orgasm. So that orgasm and the search and the seeking for that, what you're only doing is you're creating material bodies through the orgasm, as opposed to creating divine bodies. That's why when you look at Moshe, you look at Mem, meaning water, Mem Alf Nun, man, so many traditions, you see that many of the priests and the prophets of different traditions, there was always this idea that they were born out of water, like Krishna, born out of water. You kind of say, well, what the heck does that mean, born out of water? Like, is it the amniotic fluid they're talking about? But you got to understand that what they're saying, like with Moshe, for instance, is the water and the fire, what it brings forth, what it creates. So these are people who are not born from like their mother and father got together and created them. What it means is that, like, if I'm me as a man, when I conjoin my shin, which is my fire, and I conjoin it with the water, the nun of another, right, of a woman, of course, then I become, and it's a proper mating, it's a proper matching, then I become reborn. I become rebirthed. I become anew. That's why it says, like, it's in the Bible that something like, when a man finds a woman, basically, he will cleave to her. He will separate from his mother and father and cleave to his woman. Why? Because he's become reborn. He's not the same person he was, because his mother and father, through orgasm, recreated a physical body. But it is through his own divine matching and union that he recreates his soul body. He really awakens his soul by doing this, you see? And I mean, I don't need to get graphic, but I'm sure that some of you have experienced that feeling, during the act, like you feel alive, like, oh, colors are different, or for some of us, we go blind. If it's really right, I don't know, I'm in outer space. I can't see anything, but everyone has a different experience. But either way, it's a rebirthing that's happening in that moment. So when you're purposing what union is about or what mating is about the reincarnation of the soul, or the regeneration or the reconstitution of your soul energy. And just from a very basic example, like we look at soul energy, and we look at like in comedic structure, right? we have these 9 different perspectives of the soul, or these 9 different expressions and emanations. And you have the Ren, you have the Ka, you have the Ab, the Ba, the Kat, the Ka'et, you have the Ka'abit, you have the Sahu, you have the Ku, and you have the Sekhem. Okay, so those are all just different parts of the soul, 9 parts right there, just of the soul, right? So if I'm mating with an individual, they have to have 9 receptacles or 9 interchangeable parts, just so that our souls can intertwine in that way. So, because no 2 souls are alike. Even though they all come from the core base energy, they're not all the same. You see? And then you might be mating with someone who has no soul. Right? So if you're mating with someone who has no soul, those 9 expressions or those 9, I like to call them sonic expressions, because they actually make a sound, so that they're actually like, musical tones. But those 9 musical tones of the soul, what are they mating to? What are they connecting to? What are they matching to? If you're mating with another individual who has no soul, right? So then what happens is, of course, the only reason you would do something like that is because you're desirous of the orgasm, so you're functioning from your lower nature, right? So you're desirous of the orgasm, but so what do you create through that connection? What do you create through that? We can't even call it sex. Through that act. Yeah, you create another individual, but what the heck was it? So now you got a child that's coming through imbalanced, because they weren't created out of a love union, because there was no actual mating. There was just pumping and dumping, basically, but there was no actual mating, you see. So like I said, we'll get deeper into it. I like to keep it light. The first Sunday of the month, but as you can even see, there's ideas here that goes beyond maybe a little bit of what we may perceive as rudimentary mating, or we just look at dogs do. There's a little bit more to it. All right. I'm going to share some of these comments, then we're going to head out. Lotus Scholar says, man, you be having them down so well. Yeah, I study women, man. I've been interested in women since I was very young, so I said, this is something I'll be interested in. I want to know about it. I want to understand the psychology and understand what I'm supposed to do. I always wanted to do what I was supposed to do. Even as a child, that was important to me. I wanted to be in the right place, so yeah, you gotta get that game, and I had people around me who saw a certain, we'll say, gift, and helped to cultivate it. So Brother Haru says, most men don't even learn the general science and importance of economics until we're exposed to the idea of socio-political organization. Right. And he says, excuse me, most melanoid men from my generation. Yeah, I would say most men in general, because again, the best citizen is an uninformed one. The word citizen means slave. The best slave is an uninformed one. So, you're absolutely right. But yeah, most don't really understand the general science and importance of economics. And then even when they do learn economics, Brother Haru, they still don't learn economics. It's like I've used the example before, wanting to finally get up and eat healthy. And then you go to the supermarket and they got all these healthy options, but the healthy options will make you more sick than man, you better off eating some good quality beef than that soy, soy chunks. You're just eating rubber bands. So it's very tricky. Even when we think we're learning something, a lot of times we're not really learning it, He says, Brother Lowe says, I've done that twice, even at the threat of dudes coming to my place with a gun, and I didn't waver. Yeah, man, you don't pay no attention to that, man. You got to kick somebody out, kick them out, man. You don't suffer calamity in your home because it leaves a spirit, man. And especially If you're not just not you and the other person, if there's other people living there, then you're bringing calamity and destruction to their lives too. And as a man, you're responsible for maintaining peace. You can't. I had a situation years ago when people came to blows in my house. And I had to remove them because if you walk into, even any of you, if I invite you to my home, it's already implied that you're going to be safe. So if you come into my home and somebody's, in the backyard or basement or something fighting, then, I haven't done my job, so yeah, it's really just tuning into your responsibility as a man in that sense. Lowe said, Chief is ice cold with it, but some of us forgot what that cold is like, or it's been beaten out of us. Well, a man has to, sometimes we're too lenient as men, man. That's the problem. We're too lenient. We let a lot of things fly, and we don't understand the more stuff you let fly, the more respect you're going to lose in your home. And once you lose the respect in your home, there's always somebody else to jump in and say, well, I got my stuff together. And who is that somebody? It's the state. The state doesn't budge. So that's that ever-present present toxin that's always looking to seep into your household. So you have to be vigilant about maintaining a closed environment, and whatever you say you are, what are you going to do? It's got to be as such. And that's really, for a guy, you got to, and for a woman, you got to master your emotional body. You can't be functioning from a place of lack or allow your emotions to cloud your judgment. You can't allow it. When you know what it is what it is, then you got to move as such, man, because life moves by very quickly, man. It's nothing worse than sitting back later and saying, man, I could have did this or should have did that, but I didn't because I felt sorry for this person or because I was using transference and this person reminded me of some other loser I knew, or I didn't have any respect for myself, so I let this person disrespect me or put their hands on me or this or that or whatever the scenario is. But also keep in mind, men and women, if you ain't got no program, then she's allowed to do whatever she wants. You can't get mad later. If you haven't established an understanding with her, if you say, yeah, babe, you just, I don't know how y'all talk, but like if y'all just vibing and y'all going to the movies or whatever square thing y'all do, but whatever it is, and then you like, yeah, babe, let's move in together. Let's, for, I don't know, whatever reason, let's move in, right? And then she moves in, and I don't know, man. You come home from work and she in the kitchen talking in pig Latin, and you hear a guy's voice on the other side, and she doing that pitter patter, eat a patter, and well, if you didn't establish an understanding, in the beginning, you can't really get upset now, but you can sit down and lay down your program to her. But you got to have a program. It can't just be reactionary based on what she's doing. I didn't like that, man. So for now on, no short skirts. But then you in a store one day. And you say, why don't you try this skirt on, babe? You look good in it, just because you want to see some leg. You got to be able to be clear on why you're saying the things that you're saying and what it is that you're establishing. And it can't just be about bossing, being like a bulldog and bossing people around. You're going to do it, you're going to do that. When you know your value, it's very easy to determine what the rules should be. Like for me, I know my value in any situation. I know that I can fix people's lives, period. I'm keeping real with you. I know that from the moment that someone encountered me for 5 minutes, I can change your whole world for the better. So therefore, there's certain things that are required in order for me to do that. Like I have to have a peaceful home. Because I can't sit here and do these segments with y'all and teach classes and do sessions, and I got someone going crazy in my ear because they don't have peace in their life, or they're projecting all of their past hurt onto me. I can't have that because of the position I have in the community. Now, I know my value in the community. If I was worthless, if I felt like, well, you know what, ain't nobody learning nothing, and the stuff I'm teaching isn't really helping anyone, then I could allow those things into my world and be okay with it. But see, I can't sacrifice that, what I do for the community for something else that's beneath me. So when you have a program and when you're aware of your self shape, you've taken inventory, your value, then you can set your protocol, and your protocol is going to be unique because everybody brings something different. So me telling a sister, no, don't ever raise your voice at me, that may not be your rule. You may not have a problem arguing with your lady, for instance. Maybe that's fine for you based on where you're at and what you do. I don't argue. I don't argue with people, but I sure as hell don't argue with women. Because if I'm gonna go as far as to argue with someone, I always want the option that if this gets crazy, I can punch you in your face. Now, if I can't do that, we ain't arguing. You see, I'm not punching a woman in the face, so we ain't arguing. And why would I ever argue with you when I'm in charge? That doesn't even make sense. That means I really ain't in charge. And how would you ever feel the boldness to argue with me if you just finished telling me I was the boss? I'm the leader. I'm the guy. I'm doing this. Now you in my face arguing me, telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. That means something's off now. You see? So, but you may not have that type of relationship, man. Maybe your relationship doesn't have, you don't really come with the same level of dominance that a person like me may come with. You know, I'm with someone, I'm dominating you, man. Ain't no round. I'm not trying to dominate you. I don't need to dominate. I'm going to dominate you because that's just who I am. Now, I already know that because I'm aware of myself. So now if that's the case, if you want to fight and resist, go ahead, but you're only going to hurt yourself. So if you don't want her to get hurt and you know something about you, like a woman, let's say, try to debate with me. You got some that like to debate all the time. Don't debate with me. I'm embarrass you. You know, because I have two choices. Either don't debate with you because I don't feel like going there with you and making you feel stupid, or debate with you and then hear maybe 2 months from now, let's use about the time, I feel like nothing I ever say is right. Every time I say something, you're going to tell me it's wrong anyway. Well, fool, you shouldn't be trying to debate with me. You're right. Everything I say is right. I told you that in the beginning. You just didn't believe me. You know, so sometimes you have to set up hard protocols so that your program can come off intelligently and properly without hurting the people around you. You see, just like I don't play wrestle. I don't do that, you know, because people get hurt, you know, so I'm not going to, you know, at least like with a woman, you know, yeah, with like a boy or something, whatever. He get hurt. All right, get up, man. Go get some tissue, wipe your bloody nose, you know, but I don't play that because if you play wrestle with your woman, and this is just, it may not be for you. Everybody's program is different. You like to play with, she might be the type that like to punch you in your chest or smack you or whatever. Well, if she gets upset, those filters may also be off and she may try to do the same thing then. But if you're upset at the same time, she may engage your warrior energy and you might knock her out. You know, and sitting there like, oh my goodness, what I just do. So it's best just to everybody keep their hands to themselves, you know, and everybody is different, right? So let's see. Brother Haru said, as soon as you begin to tolerate that which you would not, you lose a part of yourself, right? You lose, the part you lose is your manhood. A little bit of your testicles are being chipped off. That's what happens. Spirit Driven says, I'm sure Chief deserved a good shaking. Oh, that's a beautiful. I wonder if you're a teacher. It said like a third grade teacher. Jamie Anaya says, even at a young age, you knew how to hold back on information. Oh yeah, heck yeah. Oh heck yeah. I sure did. All right, let's see. Haru says, right, lack of soul. Would you agree that this could be why some people's chakra system only expresses 7 seats as opposed to 9? Nah, man. First of all, we got way more chakras than 9. We got hundreds of chakras on our body. You know, that 7, remember 7 is the trap. We always use the number 7 for everything, like even the 7 African powers. You know, even though you hear me speak about more, but I put that in the book just because so many people were familiar with it. But we use 7 because 7 is the prison number. That's the number of God, the 7 seals. So we say, oh, with 7 seals, you only got 7 chakras. You open up those 7 chakras, you be free. You got more chakras than that, you know. But that's the lockdown. As long as I keep you thinking that everything is processed through the 7 holes in your head, then you know. Then we good to go. And then if you're dealing with Islamic law, they'll say 9 because you have the 7 holes in your head, but then you also have your anus and you have your genital, you know. But those are all godly lockdowns. That's that prison warden stuff. Strong Mind, Strong Bodies Fitness says, I overslept. I will go back and listen today. Okay. She says, I need this. All right. Look at Lo, sleepyhead. Look at Lo trying to flirt. Y'all flirting with each other, actually. All right, let me stay out of it. Talk about mating. About to make the beast. So Haru says again, indeed, judgment. The best way I would say to know is that we have a certain sense as melanoids that Webster once defined as something that black people feel, in part as the primary definitions. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Lowe says that's what I did wrong debating with them, and that's how they left. That's how they felt. Yeah, you never debate with a woman, man. It's that's not what you're there for, man. You're not on opposing sides of a team, man. It's not that, man. There's supposed to be harmony and complementarity. So when you're debating, you're just sharing opinions. And let me give you something even deeper, man, that most of y'all ain't ready for, but it's okay, because when we get to the end of the segment, I say, it gets a little bit more real. Debates are for opinion. Deliberation is for truth. I don't really give a damn about her opinion. I'm working from truth. So 9 times out of 10, she's going to see something you doing truthfully and express her opinion. Well, baby, I ain't asked you what you felt. So let's leave it right there. So, Dad, I can't even say my opinion. Not to me. You better say that to somebody else. Not to me. No, I want to hear it. Let's keep it moving. Now, a lot of you ain't cold enough to say nothing like that to your woman because you feel like, well, she should be allowed to express herself. She can express herself. She absolutely can. But there's a protocol to all things. It's just like, if I'm going through something rough, man, I'm not going to come home going off on my woman because I had a bad day. I may go to a bar and start a fight, hit somebody in the back with a pool stick. But there's certain things that men, we express, and there's a certain way that we express that should be kept from our women. And women is a certain way that you express that should be kept from your men, because it only creates calamity. And I know a lot of people ain't ready for that one, but I don't care anything about her opinion. I'm not interested. I am completely uninterested. And the truth is, I'm only interested about her opinion in the beginning so I could fix it and align it to my opinion. Because if she's feeling something that's different from what I'm feeling, if she's not a part of this religion that we've created between the two of us, we got to be thinking the same thing. If we're not thinking the same thing, you're going to end up getting knocked by somebody who is thinking like her. Right? Let's just look at it. Let's look at it in this very easy example here. Got a lot of women here who are dealing with traditional or African spirituality, but you got guys who are not, who are deeply entrenched into Orthodox religions or big 3 religions. How easy is it for you to be swept away from that guy by someone who is practicing traditional spirituality like you are? See what I'm saying? So you really got to be of one mind, man. And that's what really the sexual union is about. It's about reconstituting yourself back into one another. So you're moving you're moving like a unit, man, but you're on the same team. So all arguing and debating, and you have to make it clear too, like when you're not debating, like she may say, well, I want to do it this way. You say, no, do it this way. And she might say, well, look, I'm not going to argue with you. No, we ain't arguing. I just gave you an instruction. See, so that's a whole different conversation, you see? And again, like I said, a lot of people listening, man, y'all ain't ready for this, man. I'm sure many of you are turned off by what you're hearing, but that's because you've been brought up in sickness and you have certain ideas of what a relationship should be, and you're completely lost. When somebody says something like that, you'll say something like, well, damn, it sounds like he all in charge over and she can't do what she want to do. Well, what is it that you really want to do? 9 times out of 10, when you ask a woman that shit, I don't really even know, right? Because you're so busy been trying to do what I'm doing that you haven't even given yourself a chance to really explore your own femininity, to really enjoy your own femininity, to see the things that are out there for you to do. And you're going to realize it ain't got nothing to do with looking at me all day and casting opinion. There's some real cool stuff out in feminine world. I'll give you an example. Music and art is feminine. Music, art, poetry, anything that's creative and abstract, that's feminine. How many of you sisters listening play an instrument? And I don't mean played in the clarinet in the 4th grade, but I mean actually, you know, when you have family get-togethers, can sit down with your violin or your clarinet or your piano and actually entertain your company. How many of you write poetry, write stories, create things, sculpt? Very few. I know that because I asked you. You got more men who do those type of things than women, and it's a feminine thing. You see, you got to learn about the priestess of Heru. You know, who we call Het Heru, the House of Heru, but they played the sistrums. Those were the whores. Yeah, I know you didn't want to hear that one, but those were the whores. The whores were the women who really made sure that they were tight on so many areas. They delved into their femininity. They rejoiced and celebrated it. They didn't have time to be concerned about how he's laying down the floor tiles in the bathroom. They didn't have time for that. Babe, you sure you doing those right? Babe. Maybe we should call the guy. My uncle, you know, my uncle does this type of work. Babe, that one looks crooked, babe. But I'm saying, I'm just trying to help you, babe. I just don't want it to be all messed up. Babe. The dude like me said, you don't get the F out this mother effing man. Well, actually, they would know, don't even come in the goddamn, you know. But you see stuff like that. If she's focused on what makes her great, you know, then she's learning all of the different appendages. So when you two conjoin again, now you got something to stick into each other. It's aside from just your genitals. Because what is if she's artistic and creative, what is the compliment that I'm supposed to give her when we join in union together? Are we both supposed to be sitting there writing poetry with your soft ass? Are we both, like, dudes, are you supposed to be writing poetry while she's writing poetry? And I write poetry, so I'm just saying. But, you know, if I have a woman who's doing something, what is the compliment? You know, how do I anticipate some of the great things that are coming from her? Because I'm in tune with her vibration and her rhythm, you know, so we're like, you know, we're playing off of each other as opposed to us getting in the way of one another because we're trying to do the same thing. You see? Brother Haru says, that's right, brother. Women should entertain her. Yeah, I'm going to read it out loud, even though he said joke, a little joke. I joke. You ain't joking. You ain't joking. Yeah, you want a woman to entertain you, you know. But, you know, look at most relationships, it's the exact opposite. Tell me it isn't. Women are sitting there, they're boring as I don't know what. And you sitting there cracking jokes all night and telling stories. It's the exact opposite from what it's supposed to be. She's supposed to be like a geisha. You see, she's supposed to, you know, she's supposed to be so, and when I say entertaining, I'm going to use this word. She's supposed to be mesmerizing. That becomes entertainment, you know, where you look at the way she moves, the timbre of her voice, the way she dresses, the way she smells, you know, all of those different things, her art. And I am not talking about, you know, it could be old woman, young woman, doesn't matter. She could be 80 years old and still be mesmerizing. You know, she could be 90 years old and be mesmerizing, right? But she's supposed to be so invested in so much of that, you know, you are mesmerized. You are entertained to a degree, you see? And some tap into it a little bit, but then they start to feel insecure being there and they go back to their manly stuff. You know, like they'll be looking sweet and pretty, and then you'll see them on an Instagram video, and they be cursing like sailors. You know, like they're uncomfortable staying in that space, and maybe they're uncomfortable staying in that space because they ain't got a man who gonna put that, you know, who gonna really stand up in that thing. I stand up in that thing, say, listen, man, this is what it's gonna be. You know, I'm never doing no feminine stuff. So that's all you right there. You see that feminine world right there? You are the ruler of that world. I'm not even coming. If you want to invite me over for dinner, I'll come over for dinner. But I'm sure that I'm clear in my mind that I'm a guest in feminine world. You see, that's why I'm not an advocate of men and women having, you know, the same bedroom. I don't do that. You know, you got your own bedroom. I got my own bedroom because it's so nice to come into her bedroom. You know, she says, you know, you want to sleep with me tonight? and you come into her world, you see, and it smells and, you know, different, and she got different kind of music playing, and, you know, little things going on, and, you know, little sparkly stuff in the corner and stuff like that. And she's bringing you into her world. And in her world, you should be silent. You shouldn't be casting your opinion. Oh, babe, don't you think jasmine smell better than lavender? Don't you think jasmine is better for erections than lavender? Oh, babe. You know, like, shut up and enjoy her and enjoy the world that she creates. And on the other side, when he brings you into his world, you know, when he I'm about to tell a personal story, but when he let me try to get something a little bit more G-rated. I don't think I have any G-rated stories. But when he just, you know, let's take it out the realm of intimacy. But when he, you know, is doing something that's manly, and he says, well, come on over here with me, be silent. Soak it up and enjoy that masculine energy. You see? Enjoy each other's world that you have created for one another. That's the beauty of it. The beauty, that's diversity. It's the beauty of that diversification. Okay, I'm just going to look at these last texts and then we out of here, because plus it's the men's call. I'm stepping on the men's call. All right. I'm sure someone is already going off. Okay, so JM Entertainment 34 says, I don't see no point in getting a mate. Okay, cool. Says women are boring as FUCK after sex. There's no reason to keep them around. I know it takes a lot of energy to live this style. I admit it would be great, but it's difficult for most men. Yeah, you sound like a MGTOW. You sound like you've been reading some MGTOW literature. You know, don't make somebody else's story your story. You know why women are boring as FUCK, as you say? I'm gonna have to give it to you. Because you're boring. That's why she's boring. Because you're boring. I got to give it to you. Yeah, when you meet them, are they boring? Every time. Most of them, unless sometimes you'll find yourself a mermaid, you know, but most of them, the most exciting thing about them is their sex. Most of them. Yeah, let's keep it real. I know y'all don't like to hear it, but whatever. That's the truth. Because no one has really cultivated anything else in her. You know, no one has told her, man, go run free. Here's an art easel. You know, here's some instruments. You know, go do your thing, baby. You know, and really supported her and celebrated her with it. Oh, baby, you want to take belly dance lessons? Yeah, you know, hey, I had a thing in my house for years, man. Every, what was it, Thursday? Belly dance practice. I had all my women belly dancing, you know, because I like it. I think it's one of the most beautiful things, but it's a great way for women to tap into their femininity. It was funny though, because I remember one of the classes I sent them to one time, man. It was a dude in the class, and I was like, all right, y'all ain't going back there. You know, and she was like, yeah, he was doing the moves, and I'm like, nah, we ain't doing that. You know, but you know, and I don't mean like I was threatened by him, because he wasn't interested in he wasn't interested in their equipment. But you know, so yeah, I mean, most of them are boring. Yeah, that's because remember, a woman is water. What is water? Undifferentiated matter. It sits still. It wants nothing. It needs nothing. If you didn't want anything in life, you'd be boring too. If you think about it, you're the man. You're the defining point. You're the point that came out of the water and said, I want, I desire, I want this to happen. I want to see what that's like. I want to define this. I want to define that. So that creates an electrical charge, which creates excitement, energy and motion, emotion. It creates excitement. The woman sitting there saying, man, I already got everything. I am the zero. I am the cipher. I'm everything and nothing at the same time. I'm good. I'm good where I'm at. You know, so as a man, you have to bring her into that excitement. You have to to be the catalyst for that energy and emotion, the catalyst for that emotion. For some women, they are aware, they have had a taste of it, and they want it again. So what they do is they become addicted to a drama. They start things where there is nothing because she wants to feel some emotion. But you got to get her to feel emotion a different kind of way, man. Take her to a cliff somewhere, man. Take her to Bear Mountain or wherever the highest cliff is, man, and hold her by one arm over the side. You know, and I'm joking. Don't do that. Don't do that. But I'm just saying, different things, you know, different things you might want to do. You know, take her for a helicopter ride, man. Let her know, man. I'm gonna take you up there and propose to you. If you say no, I'm gonna throw you over the side. You know, little different things that you may enjoy doing. But all these different things, they will engage a certain kind of excitement in the woman, because that's what she's looking for. She's with you because you're fire, you're light. You bring that energy and that excitement into her world. But when you're feminized and you're like, well, you're doing that whole, well, babe, where you want to eat? Where you want to eat? What you want to do? What you want? It's like, come on, bro. I'm water. I don't want anything. I'm only here because of what you can make me want. You see, that's what I'm saying about being, you know, having that one mind. And sometimes it becomes dangerous, because if you get with a sister, for instance, who's been with a dope boy or a get money cat, then she becomes a gold digger, because his excitement becomes her excitement. If he, you know, on the corner and on the block, I gotta get it. Or he's down in Wall Street, I gotta get it. Then what happens? She grows into the same thing, and now she's looking at it like, you know, I gotta get it. I'm gonna break him for everything he got. I got, you know. So she becomes a gold digger because he deposited that spirit into her. Remember, the woman is soul, the man is spirit. The soul doesn't want anything; it has everything. The spirit is the one that's roaming all over the place. You see, the spirit is roaming. You know, so yeah, they're gonna be boring at first, man. What you got to do is burn them out. Burn them out. You know, I burn women out, brother. You got to learn to be like that, man. Women, I can't take any more, man. It's too much. Good. You got to keep, and I'm not speaking about, you know, sex. I'm just speaking about your life. Have that level of intensity and excitement about you, man, and about everything that you're doing. And maybe you don't feel that kind of excitement about your life. Maybe you don't like your life. You know, if you drive a car, do you love your car? I don't care if it's a bucket. Do you love it? Is the system nice? Did you get a new cherry air freshener to put in the thing, and you know, and you're enjoying that? Like, you know, whatever it is. If you're walking, do you enjoy how fast you could walk? You know, or if you ride the bike, you know, ride the bus, do you enjoy the view from the window? You know, but you have to learn to re-embrace the fullness of life, man. To see the width and the breadth of how big life can be, man. And when you're like that and you have that level of excitement, will women come to feed off that excitement? Absolutely, but have so much, man, that they become engorged. They become engorged. Don't just be exciting for her. Be exciting for yourself. And whatever it is that excites you now, don't give it up when you get with her, because then she'll get bored. She's going to try to get you to give it up. She's going to try to get you to do that. You know, like I told you, I used to race motocross. Motocross is very dangerous. It is, for anybody who doesn't know what motocross is motorcycles in the dirt. Okay, and most women well, at that time, girls I got was like, you know, why don't you stop? You gonna get hurt. You gonna get. Why don't you get the F out my face? How's that? Let's start there. You see, this is what I do, and I'm gonna keep on doing it because it's more important to me than you. I know it sounds rough, right? But hey, man, that's what they actually want to hear, because they're clear that you're directed. Because when she becomes the most important thing to you, she becomes your son. Once she becomes your son, she says, well, heck, I'm not really a son. I'm a moon. You were supposed to be the sun. So now I got to find another son that I can reflect from, and so to give you the light that you're looking for. So then she finds somebody like Chief Yuya. And then I give her the light, and by proxy give it to you. So now it's like both of y'all are my women, and I don't do that. No hockey sticks over here. So yeah, man. A lot of times it's you, my brother. You know, it's you, and you're not injecting the right spirit inside of the woman, whether it be physical, but really where it starts, of course, is mental. You know, brother Justin said, Chief, I had to run back upstairs to my computer to type this. This is the SHIT LMAO. This, thank you. Good. Brother Lowe says, that's how I see belly dancers, mesmerizing. Yeah, they are, man. But you know, that's what they're supposed to be. It's the movement of the hips that's it's hypnotic, and they manifest through belly dance. Belly dance is actually a ritual. It's not just she's sitting there looking sexy. It's a ritual, you know. So that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. I think it's real cool because it's spiritual too, but it's just very beautiful, you know. Brother Harush says, I agree, because when we focus and appreciate her femininity, just appreciate her femininity, save my heart, Chief. Yeah, it's something great about, you know, just enjoying, you know. Hey, man, I'll give you something, man. Hey, I give you brothers something easy, man. Enjoy the goofiness of your woman. Now, if you've never seen your woman goofy, and for you young brothers, girls are goofy. You've probably never seen it because she's never been relaxed around you. All right. It wasn't that long ago, man. Some of the sisters, you know, around me in my orbit, they had a breakdance contest in my living room. Imagine that. A doggone breakdance contest. Imagine grown, melanated sisters, locks, all that, trying to backspin on the floor. They had they you know, their goofy side comes out. Why? Because they feel safe. Ain't nothing gonna happen to them. They're completely and totally safe, but not just safe physically. They're safe emotionally. You know, like they're not gonna do that, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh, you a breakdancing whore." You know, I'm not gonna do that. You know, like they understand that whatever their expression is, and you know, when they go out into the community or the environment, they have to be queen so and so, and everyone looks at them a certain way. But when they come into this space, it's like, listen, yeah, queen so and so, go put the goddamn thong on. All right. Yeah, you a goddess. I'm a god. I like to see my goddesses in thongs and lingerie. Right. And I'm just giving you a very vulgar example. But the example I'm saying is that we're going to bring this down to some primal, you know, male, female stuff. So that frees her up to be that. She ain't got to say nothing deep around me or, you know, anything. No. You can be free, whatever you feel like doing, you know, it's within reason, obviously. So that's the thing, man. You know, you have to be able to give that structure in that sense, you know, so that she can be free to be watery and be cool and be fun and all those different things. And then you can really appreciate her. But if you've never seen, you know, your sister goofy around you, that means she hasn't opened herself up to you. You don't even know her. And, you know, women are really good at being married for years and never actually opening up to their husbands. Never actually, you know, the one who really usually knows the woman the most is her lover. Yeah, you know, they have those sometimes too, man. I know they're innocent, beautiful little flowers. Sometimes they have lovers on the side, and the lover is the one who really knows her. You know, because the relationship is already based on deceit, so she could just, you know, open up and say, hey, this is what I really like. This is what you know. So sometimes you have to, man, I'm giving y'all a lot of game right now for free. But I'm going to give you this little piece of game, right? I ain't going to give you too much more. Treat your woman like a side chick, and you'll have an exciting relationship. All right? That's a little bit of game from Chief. Always treat her like a side chick. Now, the women are going to say, I don't like that. Well, who cares? So what's your main chick? Who's your main chick? Your purpose is your main chick. Your purpose is your wife. Your woman is your side chick. Now, you'll notice that with side chicks, you kind of let a side chick be a little bit more free than you do your actual wife. A lot of times as men, we get into these real crazy systems of control with our women. You know, once we say, I love you, now the demands come in. Because if you love me, you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't wear that. You wouldn't talk to that guy you dated in college. You love me, you know. All the insecurities and demands come in. You notice you never do that to your side chick. You call up, she say, I'm going to dinner with my friend from college. All right, what time you be back? You know, I'm going to come by after. You know, if she say, nah, don't come by after, you think in your mind, oh, okay, they really going to have dinner. All right, well, I'll see you tomorrow. You cool as a cucumber. You see, you get to learn and know your side chick. What does she like to eat? You don't stress over certain things, man. You know, well, you shouldn't be eating all that tuna because of the mercury in the water, goddess. You don't stress. Oh, you want to eat tuna? It's a lot more freedom. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to do it 100% because she's still your woman or your wife or whatever. But if you could just try to put your mind there once in a while, you'll even take her out on dates sometimes. You'll even do things that are exciting because this is your side chick, you know? And that game, I know, flew over a lot of people's head, which is good because I shouldn't be giving y'all that much anyway. Let's see. I'm going to just read the rest of these. Raw Honey Jaha says, that's the only thing I can agree with today. Well, okay. Fine with your little Raw Honey Jaha ass self. There's a whole lot of stuff that's been said today. That's the only thing you agree with. Whatever you talking about, I don't know. Brother Lowe says, that shocked me for the first time when I saw a couple had separate bedrooms. I thought something was wrong with them. Oh, she's probably talking about that. Yeah, man. You know, it's not really natural sometimes what we impose upon each other in terms of our marriages. You know, you meet someone, you never lived with them. You might have only known each other for a year or less often. And then all of a sudden, for the next 50, 60, 70, 80 years, you got to sleep in one bed with this person every day. You know, like every night, you got to serve them. It's too much. It's really too much that we put on each other. And we begin to lose. It's okay to lose your identity, but we begin to lose our way and our purpose in that sense, you know? And it's really not necessary. If you really look at what we each want out of a relationship, as men and women, we don't want the same thing. So why should we be in a bedroom with the same crap? You know, some of us like to sleep on the floor. Some like to sleep up high, you know. Some like the AC on all year round. Some don't, you know. But whatever it is, you have to give your mate that freedom of expression and feel secure enough that as they grow in what it is that they are and who they are, you know, that it doesn't mean a loss for you. See, that's that selfish love. She may grow and say, you know what, I'm done here. All right, well, you know, okay. Maybe you're not happy about it or whatever, but okay. You know, but trying to lock each other down like that, man, creates a lifetime of misery. You know, lifetime of misery. JM Entertainment says, I know it takes a lot of energy to live this style and it would be great. It would be great, but difficult for most men. Man, this don't take a lot of energy. It doesn't take a lot of energy to be a man. If you are a man, it takes a lot of energy to be a man if you're a transvestite. If you're a woman trying to be a man, or if you're a man trying to be a woman, that takes a lot of energy. It takes a whole lot of shaving and preparation. And if you're a man, just, you know, the problem is we're scared to be men because being men has been outlawed. So like the things I'm saying, people are going to get very offended by because as men, we're not supposed to be able to express ourselves anymore. It's like that what that comedian Lil Duval went through recently when he made the statement about trans people. And he said, and they asked him, what if somebody tricked you and didn't reveal to you after you had sex with them, revealed to you that they were trans? He said, man, I'd probably kill him. Now, everybody's saying that he's going around threatening trans people. He didn't say that. He's speaking about what his guttural or his emotion reaction would have been. I would probably kill that person, is what he said. You know, and people are saying, oh, that's messed up. You know, you threatening. I mean, he ain't doing all that. First of all, the man is like 5'1", first of all, so I don't think he'd be able to kill nobody anyway. He's like 5'1" and like 98 pounds. All right, so, but the point I'm saying is that he's speaking what most men feel. Just because you say I identify as a woman, we don't look at you as a woman. That's just the truth of it. And if that means that we're primitive and we have to evolve to begin to see things differently, okay, so be it. But because he expresses himself and you get offended, now he has to be outlawed. I get offended by stuff every day. I get offended when I see people feed their babies Cheetos and Doritos and Fritos and soda. My man, I had a man, a good friend of mine, Rob. He used to do that. He used to put soda. He'd be sitting there drinking a Coca-Cola and would pour it in the baby bottle and give it to his son. What can I do about it, man? Yeah, I found that was offensive, but you know, sometimes it's people use that to kind of get their own political thing off, man. But that's just an example. Manhood has been outlawed in that sense. It's nothing wrong with him saying this is how I would probably react, just because you identify as a woman. Because the bottom line is this: just because you tuck your penis or you cut your penis off doesn't mean you don't still have a man's tongue and a man's lips. You still got man's lips and man's legs and man's arm. I mean, I'm feeling disgusting even thinking about it. I don't want a man that close to me. Men are, I don't want it. I don't even want myself that. I don't even sit with my legs touching each other. I sit with my legs wide. I don't even want to be that close to myself, let alone some other dude. But, everybody is different, So manhood has been outlawed. That's why it's difficult for you in terms of what you're speaking about. And he does admit, JM says, I am kind of a boring guy. Haru says, by the way, I didn't agree with the comment before mine. I was agreeing with what I don't know what y'all talking about. Maroon Beauty says, I like that, having separate quarters. See, all women, all the women commenting on that one. You need to tell your man, hey, man, I won't sleep with you no more, man. You pass too much gas in the middle of the night. But she says, I like that, having separate quarters that I can decorate the way I want, make it soft as I want, and as masculine as I want. Right. Exactly. You can create your own world. I mean, if you sisters really want to get into it, I really am an advocate of you having your own separate place. So I mean, let me let me kind of I might as well just give it to you while you already agreeing. Let me see if I can slip that one in. I'm actually an advocate of you having your own place. And it could be on the same land. Like sometimes they have the carriage houses, or the cottage houses they call it. So you have a house in the front of the property, one in the back. I'm an advocate, of men, or sometimes you might have a large garage, like a detached garage, and maybe like 2-3 car garage. You could turn that into a place, man. Men, you go out to the garage, man. Let her have a house. So that's actually what I'm an advocate of. That way, when you want to entertain your friends, men, and y'all want to sit around and smoke cigars and drink liquor and look at pornos, you ain't got to be down there whispering in the basement and then turning it off every time she come down to do the laundry, or putting the cigars out, or her complaining saying, babe, when they going to leave? Or sisters, when you want to have your girlfriends over and talk crap about us and, and all that stuff, you have that space. So, again, that's just respecting each other as individuals, because at the end of the day, if you're my woman and I'm your man, we're going to conjoin anyway. So we don't have to be around up underneath and on top of each other all the time, Brother Rue said, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped down too much. Man, y'all left a lot of comments. Brother Rue said, that's true. Women crystallize the spirit of men they have intercourse with. Absolutely. And most importantly, she always crystallizes with the first person she had a child with. So that's why you'll find a woman maybe 15, 16 years old, had a first baby 15, 16 years old. She battles with immaturity throughout her life. I know y'all don't want to hear that one either, but you're going to get the truth from me. She battles with it. Or a woman who had a child at 21, she kind of stays there at that 21-year-old mentality. It's a lot of work, So JM 34 says, excellent, you're right. I need to improve in many areas. All right, get on it, man. You're a man, you can do it. Get on it. That's what being a man is about, man. Always, going beyond your last mark, and having those personal rites of passage experiences that no one else may understand. I had an elder tell me that recently. He was like, you could slow down now. You've left your mark, man, on the continent and here, man. People, you left your mark. I looked at him like he was crazy. I said, what? I haven't even scratched the surface of what I'm here to do. Left my mark. So personally, you got to have those rites of past experience for yourself. So you're always improving, Royal Honey says, separate Dre. Yeah, I know what you was talking about, Sugar Honey Pop. Separate bedrooms. Diana Williams says, okay, go snore in your room. Or you snore in your room, Miss Diana. Women snore too. JM says, nowadays women refuse to follow a man's lead. It's a constant fight. Now, ain't no fight, man. You gotta know how to ice her. She refused to follow a man's lead. Well, you asking permission to take the lead. That's the problem. Take the lead. She don't take the lead. Tell her to pack her. Get the F out. That's it. If you have value, but see, you said you got a lot of stuff to work on anyway, so ain't no woman gonna follow you anyway. But when you know you're standing strong on what you're supposed to stand on, man, there's no argument because you know what you bring to the table. I've had women sit here try to argue. How the hell you gonna argue with me? You know, who came in studying my material. You studying my material, you admitting that I've turned your whole life around. How do you know so much? Wow, you're so deep in this and that. And then I see something they don't like, they want to argue. You are a damn fool. How are you going to argue with me? You've already admitted that what your insight, your mind, your truth doesn't compare anywhere to what mine is. See, that's when men lose their place. And a lot of times that happens after you have sex because that's when she feels empowered. Now, even after sex, man, shut your effing behind up. Go sit down somewhere. Don't get up in my face trying to argue with me. You crazy? The whole world's trying to argue with me right now. The whole world's telling me I ain't nothing. The whole world's telling me I never built anything. I got the whole world telling me I don't even love my own children every day. And you think I'm gonna argue with you? Man, get the hell out of here. See, that's the thing, man. You brothers gotta wake up, man. You gotta wake up. That's what it is, you know. And if you are low value, just be honest about it. Maybe she's arguing because, you know, you ain't bringing enough to the table. Okay, well, you know, step your game up, get your tools together. But if you know that you are and you're bringing value to the table, there's no argument. There's no argument. I don't argue about things like that, man. I know 99.9% of the time I'm on point. That's my job. I'm good at that, at being on point. So what is there to argue about? If we're arguing, you're slowing me up. And if you so foolish and stupid to argue with me, then your mind is too feeble to be in my cipher anyway, because you should know better. Just like I've been with women who are raw chefs. You know, they do raw food and preparation. I've been with sisters who are doctors. I've been with sisters who are high-level politicians. I'm not going to get into their zone and argue with them about raw food or well, maybe politics, but you know, politics or medicine and things, because that's not my concentration. I would be an idiot to do that. But you got some people who will, you know, you might have been on a job for 20 years. They'll get on a job for 2 days and say, you know what, I'm going to change all this. We're going to do it this the way I want to do it. Man, get the F out of here. Everybody has their focus and concentration. I have a lot of clients talk to me about, you know, they're having children and things like that. And, you know, Chief, what should I do? And you talk to any of my clients, they'll tell you the same thing. What I always say, what should you do? Whatever your woman tells you to do. What you know about pushing a baby out? What you know about even taking a penis? I couldn't even do that, let alone push a baby out. You know, sometimes men, we got to drink extra water just to have smoother bowel movements, let alone a baby. So whatever she tells you to do, you do it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But that's not your area of expertise. You already did the part you good at. So, you know, it's just kind of learning and being respectful and being sensitive to each other. And respect means to see the source, remember? So you're seeing each other's source of divinity. The Elohim made man, and man was male and female in his image. You see, so there is a feminine and there's a masculine, and you got to respect. When you're respecting each other, you're respecting yourself. If I don't respect the woman in me, then I'm not going to respect the woman outside of me. You see, and sometimes that means you may take her more serious than she takes herself. Just like some of you guys, she may take you more serious than you take yourself. Well, there's your opportunity to step it up. But if you can't step it up, you're going to lose her, or you're going to lose him, you see. But all that, like, arguing, no, arguing, come on, man, that's for children. I'm not arguing with you. You're going to do what you're told to do, and we're going to be harmonious and peaceful, and we're going to have fun, and you're going to see the beauty in submission. Because let me tell you, fellas, y'all struggling with this, man, but most women want to submit anyway. Most women want to be dominated. 50 Shades of Grey wasn't, you know, a hit. You know, men didn't make that book a hit. They want to be dominated, but you just ain't got it in you, and you feel awkward. You know, you tying her up and asking every 2 seconds if the ropes are too tight. I know. I thought he was a babalao. Oh, my goodness. Right. I'm a man first. So Haru says, I don't even want to just wake up to someone else's energy and presence. Yeah, because every day women wake up different. Sometimes they got an attitude and they don't know why. He says, every day, no bueno. It's cool sometimes, but not all the time. I get that from my grandfather and father, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, women go through their horoscope, their horoscope. Sometimes their energy changes, So they wake up, sometimes they want to see your funky self. That's why they're upset. They turn over, he's still there, look at him. And they're upset. So sometimes they need also their space. And then you got some people who are morning people, who are night people. You got some women who can't do anything to have a cup of coffee, So it's not always the greatest thing, man. You got to have that space, man, and allow each other that space to kind of blossom a little bit, Avery Holmes says shipping container homes would be perfect for that. Yeah, shipping container homes, man. And some of them are really nice. Or get your paper up and just build a separate home, brother. See what I'm saying? Think bigger, think larger. Yeah, you could do a shipping container homes are beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I'm an advocate of shipping container homes, tiny homes, earth tone homes, straw bale. I used to teach how to build straw bale and earth bag. I did that years ago. So I'm very familiar with alternative building, but think bigger. What if you just said, well, you know what? I'm going to get 40 acres and I'm going to build these houses the way I want them. You might have 4 or 5 houses connected. Well, maybe it's just you and your wife. You may have 2 homes connected to each other. And you may say, well, in my part of the house, I don't need a kitchen. I ain't going to be cooking no food. But my part of the house is where the workshop is going to be and this and that. And maybe in her part, she might want a yoga studio or, whatever, or something for the children or, So be creative, think big in terms of that. Haru says, I don't want to watch porn around other men. Yeah, me neither. I'm just saying, Royal Honey says, if I was doing hair, I would have a lot to say. If I was doing hair or if I wasn't doing hair. All right, well, good, because I like you better, Royal Honey, when you ain't got a lot to say. So that works out for both of us, sugar pie. I'm just messing with her. She knows I'm playing with her. But actually, I was serious about the last statement. Haru says, would you please announce the link for the self-ministry course, Chief? No, it's in the damn slideshow of the video. Anyway, Haru says, sometimes a woman may interpret me doing things my way as ignoring her intuition. So what? See, who cares how she interprets it? You know what I'm saying? If you're doing things your way and you're directed as a man, you don't need permission to do that. And intuition doesn't equate to her being correct. Sometimes intuition is off. And sometimes the way you want to do things is wrong. But sometimes you need to go through that process of doing it wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Do it wrong sometimes. That's how men learn, through trial and error. Now, if someone taught her that, she would be okay with it. You see what I'm saying? So, we all have different intelligences. Like, women like to really explore the depth of their emotion. That's where their psychology really goes into. They want to understand why they're feeling certain things. Men like to explore the depths of logic and philosophy. You see? So now, if you knew that simple thing about the male and female mental construct, then you would be able to communicate with each other better. We're different. We look different on the outside. We're different on the inside, man. But it's okay. One is not, wrong and other one's right. We'll get into that a little bit later though. But next show, because I went way over. Sister Michelle says, peace, Baba Chief Farouk. Peace, Sister Michelle. Peace, family. I was going to stay silent, but the part about how the horoscope affects women is so true, right? Sometimes I don't even want to see myself in the mirror. See, matter of fact, I'm going to read that again because I think y'all need to hear that. That's an important part, she said. She said, the part about how the horoscope, but she knows what I was referring to. Horoscope affects women is so true. Sometimes I don't even want to see myself in the mirror. So do you think she want to see you? Sometimes she don't want to see her own children. You got to know how to be those waves crashing into each other and then separating, giving each other space to, just like you breathe. Contract and expand. You got to give each other space, or you go crazy. Next thing you know, you be getting a divorce and you didn't even need to get a divorce. You just need a little bit of space. Sister Diana says, or I should say Mama Diana, because you're a grandmother, so let me give you your propers. Mama Diana says, space is very important, especially when when we're in one of our moods. Yeah, I don't do moods. Yeah, that's why that space is important. If you got a mood, get your ass up away from me. I don't do moods. Because when a woman is in a mood, man, she'll say some of the nastiest things out of her mouth. Just what, some women are very powerful and they can affect the whole mood of a room. And they'd be like, I ain't doing it. I'm just sitting here minding my business. But she's like, yeah, but we can feel your energy. You sucking all the life out the room. Get out. Go play the piano. I'm joking. Haru says, right, I need to experience it for myself. It's an insult to my ability to discern for myself what I need out of life. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's about it. We're heading out. I went way over than I planned. I actually wanted to get on the men's call. I'm going to try to get on it now. And but I think you understand, the first hour and a half of what I spoke about was actually, more. But this is all about mating. So that's what we're going to be building on, man. All this stuff is good, So I never want you guys to feel like, if I don't get my script off, I'm upset. It wasn't a good segment. No, like I said, it's an interchange. It's an interchange of energy. And, sometimes like through the interchange, you may get more game than what you you ain't paid nothing for it. So, but you may get more game than what you expected. So let me put it that way, So, it's always good when it's that exchange back and forth. And you may have heard, I'm sure you did, heard some things that you didn't agree with and some things you did. And you got to know either way, I don't care. So that's what makes it even better because it's not personal. If you don't agree, I don't take it personal. It's just as a way to respectfully express that or to know when to shut up and keep it to yourself. That's a tough one with a lot of people. Well, I got to disagree with that point. Who cares what you disagree? Why don't you just shut up? Doesn't matter. What you see, that's why we have so much trouble. Or you see the way a man does something, or the way a woman does something, you don't like it. So what? Leave it. Shut up. I don't like the way women park. But you think I walk down the street telling a woman, you too far from the curb? No. Sometimes you got to learn, keep some things on the inside. Keep it to yourself. Or sometimes the way, I know some women, they put too much hot sauce on their food. Well, it's her food, man. I put the hot sauce the way I want it, Keep it on the inside. That's a part of appreciating one another, and sometimes when we try to do the same thing without that appreciation, it goes haywire. Like, it's real sexy and nice to take a shower with your woman, but it's only sexy and nice when she really, it's two things. She don't need the shower because you get her after the gym and she's funked up. She'll funk up the whole shower. It just turn you off. But I'm joking. But no. But like women like the water extra hot. That's no secret. Everybody, you brothers know about that. And it's they like it so hot sometimes. I know, and I know you've been through it. I've been through it. Will it make you question your actual toughness? And you'll be sitting there trying to take it. Because maybe she wants to, have a little fun under the shower, but she'll put you right under the water, and you sitting there trying to take it, and your back is melting off, but you don't want to say anything, because she likes it real hot. We're different, and I'm not saying don't shower with your woman, but it's okay to admit and be okay with she wants certain things her way, you want certain things your way, and still the two can meet on that post, on that kundalini, on that staff, the Red Sea can be together, and then there's times the Red Sea needs to be parted. I hope that didn't go over your heads, but we'll get into that later. All right, cool. So we'll be back next Sunday. All right. And you see, this Sunday I was kind of jovial, so I was playing around with you guys a lot. But that's because it's the type of subject I don't want to be too somber about. And I'm gonna tell you why, because a lot of people don't have mates, and some of y'all ain't had sex in 4 years, and they ain't gonna have sex for another 4 years. So, have fun with it. Have fun with it. But I think after you listen to this segment, the law of attraction is going to kick in a different way for you, and you're going to know how to properly attract a mate instead of still sitting there burning candles and hoping. All right. So until next Sunday, everyone, be strong, be safe, be wise, and think about what we shared. All right? Until such time, Odabo.